How's it going, friends and family of the internet? Welcome to the Real AF TV podcast, show about fishing and random takes from the land of 10,000 lakes. I'm one of your hosts, Josh LaBaw.
And I am surprised. No, my name is Tim Wagner, but I got caught off guard real good on that one. I was like, damn. I was not looking at the time or nothing. You were just like, how's it going? And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't. Oh. Anyways.
Cut you way off. Anyways, we're in it. We're in it. We are back to our normal format. We had that special. We're back to normal format now. We got our fishing in the front, random take in the back. We are going to talk about lures. It's our beginning lure volume 2. We have 2 things on the dock. Are we going to get to 2 things? Who knows? We'll see.
I don't know.
We got an hour. We're going to try to keep it tight to that hour on the topic. So will we get to both? No. Is there a volume 3? Kind of already written.
Yeah, I think so.
And then in the random take, we're going to find out. I thought this whole thing was because we're such good friends. That's why we're here on Real AF TV. And we want to learn and teach each other and stuff like that. But we're not even friends. So we're going to talk about that in the second half. Stay tuned. Hey. I was just going to get into how we normally start and kick it off with the fishing news. But you see that Ninja Turtles trailer, the new one? Did you see the new Ninja Turtle movie that's out?
I did see a trailer, but like from a distance.
Yeah.
Like my son was watching something and I saw it, and I've seen, what did we go to? We went to a movie. A little while back we went to that whatever the Spider-Man one is now, because I know there's like is it
Across
Across
the Spider-Verse?
Across, yeah. This one's Across.
Yeah.
So we went to that, and when we were there, they had like the big cardboard cutout, and I was like, "New TMNT."
Yeah.
And my son was like, "What?" And I think he likes to ham up everything. He's in that age where he's just like to give big reactions for no reason. You're like, do you even care?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Is like, do you plan on going seeing it with him? Does he care? The art style looks fucking crazy, like on that level with the Spider-Verse shit.
Right. And I think we'll see. We will definitely watch it, but I don't know if we'll go see it.
Go to the
because we don't get a whole lot of opportunity to go to the theater.
Right.
But when we do, there's a couple other movies, and I don't know if TMNT is the best one to watch on the big screen, because dude gets hyped. If we go and watch TMNT in the theater, I might get the popcorn just punched out of my hands. I'm not 100% sure. He might just be like, yeah, boom. And then I'm just like, no, what? Stop, chill.
Just the king size extra butter. What the fuck?
They only give us 1 refill, and I didn't plan on wasting it. I ate all the popcorn first and then fill it up. No, I don't eat 2 tubs of popcorn. Isn't that crazy? They're like, you can get a refill of popcorn. And sometimes that refill is reserved because I'll like have a couple pieces and I'm like, there was some burnt in this batch. And I just walk out and dump the first batch in the can, and I go, refill, please. And I bet they're just sitting there just being like, damn, dude, he ate that whole thing fast. And I'm a big dude, so they're not even questioning it. They're just like, he definitely ate it all. I don't care. I don't just be like, first batch was burnt. I just be like, try number 2. And if it doesn't go well, I'm definitely not the guy to be like, that first batch was burnt. Do you think you can make a whole new batch or whatever? I don't complain. I just be like, let's try it again. Hopefully I don't get the same batch. And every once in a while, like, shit. Still that same burnt batch, whatever. It's not that bad. I just prefer not to have this flavor. I'm still going to eat it. I paid way too much money for it. So.
Right.
But there are, I guess it depends on when we get a chance to go to, if those other movies will be out, because there's that Kraken movie.
Oh, yeah.
There's like a
way in depth, but
yeah, it's like an animated movie about a teenage Kraken. Like, this girl is this kind of weird thing, and she turns into a Kraken, I guess. I don't know. And then there's that other big movie, Elementals or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's already out too.
Yeah. So those ones, if we get a chance, might be more up his
TMNT.
lane because I think like
Right.
the bright colors and just, you know,
Yep.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a little bit like darker, a little bit
Yep.
creepier. Some of the
Right.
stuff I think can like, even though it's not that big of a deal, can still cause nightmares. Because if this
Right.
TMNT is anything like the show, dude, the newer show, that shit was creeping me out, dude.
Yeah, that's the second newer show, right? You're watching the 3D one?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
That
has
one's
some
fucking good.
weird, it has some
Oh,
weird shit in there, dude. There's some
yeah.
creepy
I think we
stuff.
talked about this on the pod before. We've definitely
I
talked
think
about it
we
a little
have,
bit.
yeah, because I think it was like,
It's good.
I think we might have been talking about like dad stuff or whatever, but yeah,
Oh, yeah, probably.
creepy,
Yeah.
creepy,
Be
creepy
careful
stuff,
around that
dude.
one with the kiddos. Yeah. It's
Yeah, for
good.
sure.
You can watch it, but there are some episodes that hit like adult style. You're like,
Oh
"Whoa,
yeah,
I get that. Like, what's going on here?"
yeah, there was one where it was like a mutant, like morph, like melded with like the mom, and it like the face split down the middle. I think I brought that up too, but it was like
Yeah.
Jesus, I don't think we need to be seeing monsters like that on the big screen, you know. So it's like
Yeah, this one's
I like to,
definitely way different. They're like teenagers and yeah.
yeah,
Anyways, it looks cool. I was wondering if you and your son were like in that range right now because I'm gonna see it. I just don't. We're not gonna go
yeah,
to the theater for it. So
right,
not
yeah.
after
I mean, he's
Bowser scared
definitely.
my daughter. So
Oh yes, Bowser. Yeah, we did see the Super Mario Bros. Movie in the theater, and we didn't have any problems with Bowser. He wasn't scared of that, so he was able to handle that. Um, but that one's also like my son's older than your daughter, and I think it's
right.
cartoonish enough to not be creepy. You know, where Bowser's
Yeah,
still a bad
for
guy,
sure.
but
Right.
he understands the video game too. He's like, yeah, Bowser's bad.
Right.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's that kind of thing. He's
Right.
like got a good
For
grasp
sure.
on like what the Mario world is, so it doesn't freak him out that
Already.
bad. You know, he's already
Yeah, this
known.
wasn't his like first introduction to it, really. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Makes
So
sense.
yeah, but yeah, dude, I would like to see it in theaters if you know if I had my choice over
Yeah.
which movie we were gonna go to, and like I wasn't thinking about him at all. It was more like if he would like it and I want to see a movie, like this is the one we would go to. But
Mm-hmm.
just that creepy factor has me nervous
Yeah. I gotcha.
because
For sure.
we haven't really caused much of nightmares, but he has had some because my
Because of movies.
nephew introduced him to like YouTube shorts. Now he knows how to pull that shit up, and
Oh
he just like
shit.
scrolls and does weird stuff. And he's been watching this skibbity toilet.
Oh god, I don't
Dude,
even want to hear anymore. Don't
it's
talk about it more. I don't even want to put their name out. I don't know what it is, but like
well, I'll
god.
just tell
Go
you,
ahead.
don't even look at it. It's the dumbest thing ever. It's a guy's head in a toilet, but it's like 3D animated.
Oh my god.
And it just has like a
No.
earworm style thing that it keeps going with it.
Yep.
And
Oh.
because he's like on that realm of shorts, he scrolls through and they get creepier and creepier. Some people put like spider legs on that thing and it's like creeping and like kind of
No.
poking around a building, and then it
No.
like charges the screen and
You're
stuff, and
giving
it's
him too
like
much airtime.
that's why I was like, dude, you can't be, well, it's just all stupid. Don't look into any of it.
Yes,
Like it's
nobody
just dumb.
look into
Do
don't
not
look this
waste your
shit up.
time. It's going to screw up your algorithm too. Don't be
Right.
going in there because then it's going to start feeding you this garbage.
Right.
It's terrible and it's stupid. And it's not even like gross or you'd be like, oh, what's terrible about it? It's just really bad.
Yeah.
It's no talent garbage that for
It
some reason
feels
children like.
yeah, it feels horrible. It's like oh, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. It's like circus peanuts. It has no nutritional value and it it doesn't
Oh,
even taste good, but for
yeah.
some reason it just appears to be candy. So kids like it, but it's
Right.
actually just a total piece of shit from top to bottom.
Yeah, it's like candy corn. For some reason, there's this thing, and people are talking about it, and people are just like, "Well, we should check it out, right?" Or like, you know, we should leave some of this out, shouldn't we? Like, no,
No.
Put out that wax shit flavored garbage. What are you doing? Give me real candy. Nobody wants that stuff. Who wants tiny unwrapped triangles? Give me wrapped candy I know is safe. What are you doing? Get
Right.
out of here with that
And it's
shit.
always delicious when it's individually wrapped. There's just something about that.
And if you like candy corn, whatever. My wife likes candy corn. I know some people like it, but honestly, it's like the worst candy.
But
So
it's the
whatever.
worst. It's the
It's
worst.
the worst.
Fucking just eat it.
Just like that thing I was
Crayon.
talking about, and I'm not going to say the name again.
Yeah.
That's the only thing my son's ever had like bad dreams about.
Oh, well then see. That's not even on you. All right, dude. Let's do it. Let's do what we do. And kick off the podcast 10 minutes into the fishing news.
Hey, sometimes that's what we do in the first
Sometimes
part.
you just jump in and you do a little bit of that.
We didn't even that was not planned. We don't plan much,
Yeah.
This is a little bit. There's a rough outline, and then we just wing it.
Yeah.
But what's up with the fishing news?
It's better
man?
that
What we
way.
got?
Not too much happening in the fishing news today, but I thought it was a good one. It's very Minnesota specific, all the way around one, but we've talked about it a lot. You're a walleye fisherman. I have to bring it up. It's one more keeper. No, not one more keeper. It's
right?
It's to be exact, it's two more ways you can keep a walleye on Mille. For a quick backstory, Mille is famous Walleye Lake, giant fucking lake in the middle of Minnesota.
Yep.
Super famous tourist destination shit. A lot of.
Yes.
Wouldn't you say that there's an economy around the walleye up there?
There's an economy not only around the walleye, but now you're talking muskies and smallmouth. It is a world-class muskie fishery, smallmouth, and walleye.
Nice.
So that being, it's just a big lake, but it's not ridiculously deep. There's structure everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find fish in certain spots, and it's not like ridiculously crowded. There's not boats on top of boats everywhere.
Right.
Some spots are hotter than others, but there's chances all over the place, and it's a massive lake.
Yeah, absolutely gigantic. And so, it pulls all this things in, but lately it's had the DNR's had to take a drastic measures, we'll say, on that lake, and you can only keep one walleye on it, which is new in the last 5 years, roughly. Tim, maybe a little more. I don't know.
I don't
but
even know if it's that
pretty
long.
new.
It might have only been like the last 3 or 4 somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And it's one walleye, just to specify, one walleye per person. It's a limit per person. So you have 5 people go out, you can catch 5 walleye, which is still enough fish for everybody. You don't really need to go that crazy anyways. We've talked about limits and how they don't need to be 5 per person anyways. Right. But I hear that the fishing out there is still phenomenal. People go out there and just catch a ton of walleyes. I guess they must just not like what they're seeing with the smaller numbers. Yeah. All the fish are getting big and they're nervous for some reason. I don't know. But the crazy thing is I hear people going out there and they're just like, we caught 40 today. And you're like, what? Everybody I hear go out there catches a ton.
No kidding.
And then they're not allowed to keep any. So I don't quite understand, but maybe it's just because they have so many people fishing the bodies of water that they're you guys are able to keep catch so many that if you guys all started keeping your fill, things would get really ugly really quick.
I think that's what's going on, because what they did is starting August 1st. So that's why, we're in August now. So I thought this was a really good time to bring it up. Is starting August 1st, they changed the slot limit. And that's why I said there's 2 reasons, because they literally changed it from 21 inch to 23 inch.
Okay.
And I was like, they went from 20 to 23 inches. You can keep, it used to be. Let me backtrack that. There's one walleye that you can keep, and I did the math wrong because I suck at math and talking at the same time. So there's one reason for you to go to Mille and catch. Now you can keep a 20 to 23 inch or one longer than 28. Because it's one limit, you still only get your choice between one in the 20 to 23 slot or one that's over 28. The previous limit was 21 to 23 inches. I'm like, what the hell difference is 1 inch going to make? But the article, of course, written by the DNR is like, no, that opens up a pretty big window. And the way you were just talking about how people are still out there slaying them, you being a walleye fisher, I mean, what is going from 20? What is it making this smaller by 1 inch? You know, what is that? Because to me, I'm like, what?
I think you're just opening it up to a larger window, you know, like it's just the amount of fish that you're allowed, like that you have a chance at keeping now, has expanded pretty drastically when you add that inch, because of how many fish are probably like closer to that 20 inches. Like when I catch decent sized fish, they seem to fall in that range of like 19 to like 22, somewhere there is like the like decent sized fish that I catch a lot of times. So I could see, you know, like, oh, that one's 19, can't keep it. But then you're talking, you know, I got 21, 22, somewhere in there. So maybe just on that lake, that's just kind of like, you know, it seems weird to me that that's the numbers. Like you can keep one there. I don't know why you couldn't keep them smaller than that. You know,
I gotta think they're trying to grow them, right?
Yeah, maybe it's like an age thing where they're like, those fish are younger and we think that they'll be able to live longer, and we're looking down the road.
Right.
But I don't know. I would like to try to figure it out. And then, you know, 1/28 is like, I'm keeping one to put on the wall. You know,
right. That's that's your big fish. You don't want to take the people who are going for the trophies. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say like I'm not a ridiculously well-versed walleye fisherman. I've been getting into it pretty heavily through the last couple of years, but my personal best is 26, you know?
Right.
And that's a 6.5 pound walleye. 28 is, you know, you're getting close to that 10 pound range.
Right. Holy shit.
So maybe like 8 pounds, 10, somewhere in there. But like a 30 inch fish, you're starting to get into, you know, well over double digits.
Right.
And those fish get big.
That's when they start to change shape and colors and shit, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, they start to get round. They start to look almost like different fish.
Yeah.
Like when you get like 26 to like 28, like some of those are just like meaty big fish. And when you start getting over that, it's like when you see a monster bass, where some of them are just tanks, dude. They're like their stomachs are bigger, and you're just like, damn, dude, that fish is massive.
Right. I get it.
Yeah.
So that was it. It did say that the perch population seemed up. So, and
that's
I know,
good.
Yeah, you've been kind of connecting dots, and maybe we'll talk about it, you know, in a couple episodes. But they kind of alluded to like the perch are up, so that should help. It might be a little bit harder to catch walleye than what you were used to, because you might be catching perch, is kind of the way that they wrote it. But also perch population up. Walleye eat perch, like you kind of got yourself like the makings of a good scenario there to grow the walleye population back quickly, hopefully.
Right. Yeah. And there's smaller perch and there's bigger perch. And like, I've always heard, like, if you're catching fish in a school, they almost like try to school like with similar size fish. So if you're catching some small ones, they're chasing, you know, you might be close to some walleyes that are eating these smaller perch. But I think they have jumbos on Mille. Like, you get pretty big perch out there.
Oh, okay. Makes
that's sense. just as good of eating. And I think the limit on those is like 10 per person. I've never went out, and we've always had, you know, like 3-4 people in the boat. So we've never kept 30, 40 fish. So I haven't even had to check.
So. Yeah, you've never just like taken your share, so to say, in quotes.
Right. Yeah.
That's way too much. So, yeah. All right. Well, that was it. I just wanted to, I know it's very Minnesota specific, but it's like, it's a big deal, something we keep talking about here because it just keeps Minnesota talking, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Well, let's jump over to the fishing topic. Oh, shit. No. Housekeeping. I got to do some housekeeping here.
All right.
Dude, remember the shark episode like a few episodes back? And I was like, sharks are crazy, right? Like, what's up with sharks? Like, they're fish, but you only call them, but they're like the only thing that's sharks. And then we ended up talking about rays, and like rays are fish. Eels are fish. There's two things right there that are fucking fish. And they're just like totally off the radar that I couldn't think about while we were talking about sharks. It's just like, oh my God. I just thought about that randomly.
Hey.
Oh, well.
It's I do that a lot. Then like the next day I go, shit, I forgot about that. So if you guys ever are listening and you catch us doing that, you call us out. Hit us up. Let us know. We'll bring it back.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, I just want to touch on this part. And, you know, and since I'm saying that right now, I know you were talking about housekeeping, but when we get into this fishing stuff, I'm going to be talking about jigs. There's a lot of stuff to be talking about here. And if I miss anything or you have questions on anything, please feel free to drop a line or whatever. Like, even if it's on any of the social medias, I'll hit you right back and give you the answer. We'll get, you know, right away, or we'll touch on it on the podcast, but we'll make sure to address whatever questions you have, because there's so much. I'm not going to touch on all of it. I can't. There's too much. But if you have a specific question, let us know. So that's kind of a housekeeping thing. Oh,
that's perfect. That's exactly what housekeeping is for. Yeah, exactly what housekeeping is for. Like, go to Twitter, or wait, it's called X now. Fuck, I gotta update that. Anyways, go to that platform that is used to be Twitter. Whatever, doesn't matter. Go to realaf.tv. You'll find all the social media links right there. You also go to realaf.tv/contact. Bam, you can email us directly. Please hit us up if we miss anything or goof like that. We might read it in the next podcast. We'll definitely correct anything that we fuck up. And I would also like to say thank you to all of the YouTube people again. And that is youtube.com/@realaftv. You guys are killing it over there. And I am only going to do the last thing. And that is, this is a podcast that drops every other week. Remember, there's every other Monday is the big drop. And then on the off week, you got Wednesday and Friday, where we drop the fishing topic Wednesday, and we got the random topic on the Friday. If you want to keep it short, that's the way to do it. Otherwise, join the big podcast every other Monday. Share that with your friends. Let them know. Now, we will jump into the fishing topic, which I'm going to title it Beginning Lure Guide Volume 2. We have some things on the dock, a little behind the scenes stuff. We have more than one on the dock. Are we going to get to more than one? Who the hell knows? Because we are going to try to stay to our 1 hour fishing topic. So, Tim, jigs.
Yes.
We touched on it a little bit in volume 1 over in episode 67, right at the end. It was like, okay, look, this is also what I have on the dock. Okay, let's talk about it quick. And you're like, okay, yep. And you go off a little bit and you talk about some football jigs and tungsten and all this stuff. And we were just like, okay, we have to wrap this up.
Right.
This is going to we could go on for another long time. We need to move this over to a volume 2.
That's a good way of saying it, for another long time.
So, before we jump straight in, I have one question that came up in my research. Is this something, are jigs something that requires skill? Is it something that can be easy to start but hard to master? You know, like what are we getting into here with this? Because holy shit, man, the range that these things run and what you catch with them and everything. I was like, for me, this is an ice fishing jig. You just drop down a hole. Like this is just a
Right.
weight and a hook, and you just drop it down a hole and you wait. That's
Yeah.
my experience with jigs. And I'm doing this research and I'm thinking, okay, Tim, can you tell me, is this a skill thing that's like master level type lure, or are we looking at a situation that's easy to start, hard to master? What one is it? Am I even on the right page?
It it is oh, it's kind of hard to answer. It is easy to start and it is hard to master. And
Okay.
part of that is because there are so many different types of jigs that some are easier to use than others.
Okay.
And
So it is like that.
definitely certain styles of jigs, you have to have the right gear to be able to use it because you can't just use anything. And then other
Okay.
ones are like you can put it on whatever you want and it will work because it is, like you're saying, an ice fishing style jig. So you can be dealing with like lighter tackle and smaller stuff, but it definitely, there are so many variations of jigs and so many different ways to fish everything. And then so many different things that you can put on your jigs that change what you're
Oh
doing
my
and how you're
God.
fishing it. That
Yeah.
just like, like,
So
dude,
since this is the beginner guide, I do want to just, I did it in volume 1, but I got to do it here again, of course, is to put it simple. Like I said, the ice fishing thing is, this is a weight of some sort,
right.
like a round weight of some sort, typically round, but there can be different shapes. And then it has a hook just embedded in it, and it's just a single regular hook. Yeah, for anybody over on YouTube, Tim's holding up what to me is very standard. It's just a barbed hook, barbed fishing hook,
Yes.
and a weight at the end that would typically be the, well, it's the opposite of the hook. I don't know
Right.
hook anatomy, but it's so simple. Like
Yeah.
at its simplest form, it's a weight and a hook. Boom. It's just a
Right.
hook stuck into a weight, and you tie your line straight to the weight.
Yep.
Simple.
Yeah. So it
Now, why is
is
it not that simple? I
because
don't
when
mean to
you
put you on the
get
spot.
down to, no, I totally get it. When you get down to it, we are talking about the shape of the weight part makes a difference,
Oh boy.
and the strength and the shape of the hook makes a difference. Whether or not it has a weed guard makes a difference. There's a
Well,
lot of different things that go into it that change a lot of different stuff and how you use it. And then there's also things that completely turn a jig almost into another bait when you start adding blades and stuff. So it just
oh
adds this
yeah.
whole world.
Right.
Now I know we're talking about beginner stuff, so we'll just be kind of like be trying to touch on like what these all are. I'm not going to try to like break down absolutely everything,
Right.
but
Okay. Yeah.
so I don't have great
Good path.
examples of everything. Yeah. So I,
Yeah. I
since I
no, I
held up
agree with
this
you there.
first
Like,
one, I'll, yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
Well, since I held up this first one, I think maybe I'll just talk about this one first and just kind of, because this
Okay.
one's almost more basic. And I have another example to kind of show you a difference of things. But so
Okay.
this one, although it seems a little bit more basic, it is not like your traditional jig. You know, some of these jigs, let me show you. Let me show you one
Is it
that's
because
real
the
old
that
and
one
give
for
you an
the
idea.
people who aren't on YouTube, but this one's going to be a good visual one. Tim's going to have some good visuals.
Right.
But
And I'll do
is
my
it
best to
because,
explain what we're looking at.
oh, okay. I'm jumping in then. I'll let you
Oh,
go.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. You ask your question. I think it's best for me to try to answer questions and then I'll try to also
Okay.
talk about other stuff.
Yeah. So the one that you held up right away, where I said it's just a weight with a hook in it and tried to be
Yeah.
simple. You said
Yep.
it's not traditional though, because of the shape. It kind of, I
Yeah.
don't know. It
Yeah,
almost had like a
yeah.
fish
So
head shape.
exactly, exactly. So let me show
Oh,
you this, and then
nice.
I'll go back to that one real quick. So this is more of like a panfish style jig. It's been around
Mhm,
ever.
mhm.
People refer to this as a flu jig.
Oh,
Where it
really?
gets its name from, I don't know. I didn't look into it. But this jig, not only have they been around forever, this one's been around forever. This jig is old as hell. I
That's
have a lot of
specific
old
one.
stuff that I like to like collect. Yeah, this one's very old, and it's in pretty
Nice.
good shape for how old it is. It kind of like I like this one a lot because this one has a little bit of tinsel in here. You can kind of see the shininess of that with
Oh,
the
yeah.
white background. It's kind of hard to see, but this yellow is actually feathers, like real feathers.
Oh, it's real feathers.
Yeah, so this when it's because it's more of a like a finesse style smaller jig, those feathers, those little fibers and stuff, even
Mhm.
when it's not moving, the smallest little currents in the water have those feathers moving and stuff. So
Right.
you can almost put that on a jig or like on a line and let it sit even underneath the bobber with nothing on. It still has a little bit of movement on a
Uh-huh.
day where it's hard to catch fish and stuff. That tiny bit of movement can get them to bite. Like they'll just swim up to it, stare at
Interesting.
it for a while, and then
Mhm.
decide. But you can see that this one is literally just a ball, you
It
know,
is.
and
Yeah.
that line tie. I don't know if you can really see that too well,
Yeah.
but that
Oh, yeah.
line tie is like directly on top of it.
Yeah.
So you have a ball with a line tie directly on top of it
Yep.
because that one is made to be kind of just pulled, like wiggle like that and just kind of jump up and down almost.
Okay.
But you could cast it out. You could fish that off the bottom. You could do a bunch of different stuff. It gives you more options and stuff. But like this one is actually made to fish with like a swim trailer.
Oh, yeah. So
So
the
the
first one,
line
or
tie,
the yellow one that you had with the feathers on it, it's just yeah, I mean, it's like fishing weight. When you fish with a bobber, you just snap one of those you crimp one of those round weights on your line.
yeah,
It was like that, and then it just had a hook and feathers coming out of the weight. Like
right,
totally what I exactly pictured as a jig. For me, that's my impression of a jig.
yeah,
Now it makes sense because we were ice fishing. You drop it down a hole with a minnow on it, or not even a minnow, but a night crawler even, and the feathers are doing half the work. The worm's sending out the scent almost.
sure, yeah.
And
And you could put whatever you want on there. You could put a different bait. You could put a soft plastic on there if you wanted to.
sure.
Back in the day, I don't know how many soft plastics they were really using. I knew they had some, but I don't think they really had the like scented versions like we had. I think they had,
Right.
little paddle tail or
Right.
like curly tail grubs
Curly
that
tail.
would wiggle
Yeah.
around. That's curly tail is kind of like this. This was a different thing that I had there.
Oh boy.
That's kind of that's kind of off topic. I'll get to that
No,
a
yeah,
little
it's
bit,
okay. Yeah, go back to
but
the very
yeah,
first one you held up. You said you this like one with the fish head shaped
yeah.
weight
So you
on it.
see how the line tie is not directly
Oh
on the
yeah.
top here and it's in the
Uh-huh.
front? It's because this one is being pulled through the water. This one is designed
Mm.
to fish. This is a much smaller. This is a pretty big jig head right here.
Yeah.
So this soft plastic bait is way smaller than what you should be having on there. But you can see when I put that on there, it's got like this paddle tail.
Yep.
This is a paddle tail grub. I keep forgetting to describe this for the people not on YouTube. So it's like a paddle tail, um, uh, like a swim bait,
Soft
a
minnow.
soft
Yeah.
plastic, and then
Mhm.
you can put that on the hook, and then like this one you cast out and you just reel it in, and that this bait does all, or like the tail does all the work, and you could
Mm.
drop that down and it
Mhm.
would land, and it would, you could jig it off the bottom, you can cast it out, you can straight retrieve it, so that's why it's
Mhm.
easy to use. Like you could literally put this on this jig head, cast it out and reel it in.
And just start reeling.
That's it. Do nothing but that. Just cast it out and reel it in and
No.
do it over and over. You can catch fish.
Yeah.
But
Because the
certain
hook
days,
comes right out of the head of or like the mid back, like where a fin would be, right? Like where the
yeah,
dorsal fin would be.
right. And it's balanced in such a way, like it stands still kind of when it's on the bottom a little
Yes,
bit.
I see what you're now that it's flat
It's
on your hand like that, it's at like a 30-degree angle maybe, so you can
yeah,
see how it would keep the soft plastic off the bottom
yeah. So if
while
you
it
wanted to go
sat there.
down,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you wanted to go down, it would help a little bit. But this is more of like an open water thing too, because there's no weed guard here. A lot of
Oh,
jigs
so
will
between
have,
the hook's just wide open is what you're saying.
yeah. So
Yeah.
this is actually a weed guard,
That
and when
mohawk.
a fish bites, that will fold down. So that's
Yeah.
stopping weeds from hitting it. But if a fish bites, that'll fold down, and they'll be able to get that hook right there.
So what is because the way I'm looking at it is like the jig weight is like the head of the fish almost, right? And it's got this really,
Yes.
really vertical mohawk on it. What is that made out of? Like, how does it keep it? Because it looks so soft still. How does it keep it actually weedless? Is my question.
Some of them are made out of like a thin wire. Some of them are made out
Mm.
of fluorocarbon.
Oh,
So it depends. It's like some of them are just kind of like a plastic. I don't necessarily know all the materials, but a lot of them are like this kind of green color where it kind of blends in
yeah.
with everything.
It's
And
pretty
this is a
dark, but
swim jig. This is a swim jig as well. This is a completely different design. So this one has a line tie. You can just see the hole in there. If you look through, you
right
see
out
the
the front
white
of the.
dot. That's the
Yeah,
hole.
it's like a
Like you're looking at
nose
the
on the
wall
fish
behind it.
almost.
Yeah. So this one is a skirted swim jig. So I should
Where's the
say
skirt? Oh,
that
I see it. It's in your hand.
the swim jig, huh?
The skirt. I was like, where's the skirt on it? But it's in your hand.
Oh, yes. I'll show you that too. So the skirted jig, you're talking, this is a skirt.
Yeah.
Jig head is in my
Yeah.
fingertips. And then a skirt is literally like a bunch of small rubber,
It's like a car
essentially.
wash
It's like a soft plastic.
when it's off.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Where it's just drooping there. Yeah. Like those
Yeah.
things that spin around to clean your car for sure. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
it some of them are cut finer than others. So some of that plays a role too. And a lot of the skirted jigs, you'll see it's like your jig head, and then
Uh-huh.
it'll just be the skirt like to right there. So it's just past the hook. But like this swim
Okay.
jig has extras in the middle where it's a little bit thinner because that gives more of the profile of a bait fish, where like the
Oh.
tail gets
Okay.
thinner.
Yeah.
So your main reason for a skirt is to add bulk.
Oh,
When
really?
you're talking, yeah, because when you're talking this jig, I can do the same thing, right? You're talking this jig, and you put,
Yeah.
whoops, I dropped
The
some
one
shit.
that you said we were
You're
talking
talking
about with
this
the soft
jig,
plastic.
yeah, and you put that soft plastic on it. You can see how that's just a head and a bait now. So it looks just like a minnow, and that's about it. Now, if
Right.
I wanted to make it look like something more, I could take this swim jig, I could put that trailer on it, and just look in
Oh
the
my God.
how much more. This isn't like the greatest example of how I'm holding it up, but you can see just how much more bulk there is, and that's
Yeah.
so
And
almost
hold on.
all of these
You
skirted
keep going.
jigs.
Sorry. I got a question, but I got to
Oh,
clear my throat
okay.
here. Keep going. Sorry.
So almost all of these skirted jigs here are bass jigs that you need to have different setups to fish properly. But a swim
Mhm.
jig like this, for the most part, you can put it on most things and be able to cast it. Now, this one is like relatively heavy. This one's kind of a big head.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that one's going to have some weight. And you can see too, like this one, this is a side note. We don't need to be getting into the weeds, but if you're wondering,
Right.
if you're looking on YouTube, that has a
Right.
blade like a spinner blade underneath it,
Yep.
referred to as like a underspin. So this one also has a blade giving it some flash on the underside, so you can cast that out and retrieve it, and that's all you really need to do
And yeah.
uh,
So
with that one.
when you were talking about adding bulk to it, because you did say bass, which is the one thing. Because again, back to going all the way back to the beginning is it's panfish. It's always been panfish. You put a little one on, some feathers, and make it stink, and you catch
Sure.
panfish. So when I learned during my research on this, and I learned like, oh no, this is totally a bass fishing thing. I was like, oh, holy shit, these things must get big. And
Yeah.
you were talking about adding bulk to it, and that must come down to like there is something in fish we don't have a full scientific explanation for or whatever, but there seems to be something in fish, and you say it all the time, where they like kind of know the amount of energy they have to expel to make
Mm.
that fish worth it, right? And
Yep.
so the first one you showed where it was that more fish head shape, and it had the tie kind of in the front, and you were putting the soft plastic on it. It's like that
Yeah.
just looked like a minnow,
Yeah.
and it was open water, and it just looked like a minnow almost.
Mm-hmm.
Now compare that to the bigger one that you were the swim jig, and
Yeah.
you put the minnow on it. Now we're talking about something that went from a minnow to like a small sunny in
Right.
size.
This is literally, the colors are even like a bluegill. It's kind of like bluish and green on the top, and then
Oh
there's some
yeah,
orange
they
on the
are.
bottom. This is a bluegill like style bait. That's what it's there to replicate. So
Okay.
this swim bait is designed to replicate like a bluegill, um, or sunfish. Some of the bright orange, pumpkin seed, whatever it might be. There's so many different species of
Types of
bluegill.
right.
So yeah, definitely you're trying to replicate different baits, and then sometimes you can just go off the freaking walls with them. they don't they don't need to replicate anything. It just needs to look like a creature.
Oh, sure.
Hence the terms of creature baits, where they're
Right.
just like, the fish may think it's this or may think it's that, but bottom line is it sees it moving. It assumes it's alive. It has some
Mm-hmm.
girth to it, and it's
Right.
just like, I don't know what that is, but I'm eating it. You know.
Right.
So when you're talking about like skirted jigs,
Yeah.
those are made for bass.
Okay.
Those are designed for bass. The skirted jigs, well, I've caught plenty northerns on them. I'm
Sure.
sure you could probably catch a muskie. I've never had a walleye bite a skirted jig before.
Mm-hmm.
So they're, I think they like more like slender profile, something that's
Sure.
not so bulky. I don't know for
Mm-hmm.
sure, but I've never caught one. I'm sure somebody out there has done it before, but it's definitely not what they're made to go after. And
Right.
with skirted jigs, there's a whole bunch of different shapes and sizes. So just know, basically, when you're talking skirted jigs, you're going for bass, and this skirted jig is a little bit longer because it's a swim jig. But if you cut it off like
Mm-hmm.
right there, that's
Right.
what most of them are. If you can see, if I move that over, you can see the
There's the
hook,
hook.
and it normally comes like just past the hook. So
Yeah.
it kind of
So with
helps hide the hook too
w-
a little.
yeah, hide the hook. Perfect transition into what I was going to ask is do you just throw that out? I mean, do you have to put anything on that? Do you put stink bait on it? Do you put a
Oh,
trail on it? Like, or can you just
yeah.
throw that out like it is?
You might be able to catch a fish if you were just throwing it out, but for sure they're all designed to have a trailer on it. And you should,
They
because
are.
it does
Okay.
give more life to it. And I've never fished a jig without a trailer of
Okay.
some sort.
And a trailer
So
is
I mean,
the like you always put a soft plastic on it, right? That's what a trailer is really.
yeah, soft plastic, when you're talking like a skirted jig. There are jigs that are made for live bait when you're talking walleyes and stuff, because you can fish a jig in a minnow. So
Ah,
like early in
right.
the year, you could put a fathead minnow on your jig and you can go catch it. You can put a crappie minnow on a smaller jig and go catch crappies. Perch is a great way to catch perch and stuff.
Mhm.
So if you're
Right.
using live bait, but
Yeah.
the big part about live bait too is like you should really only be using live bait on fish you plan on keeping. You could definitely put a fathead minnow on a skirted jig and go and catch a bass, but your odds of them swallowing it because it's a real minnow are a lot higher than, if they bite a skirted jig with a soft plastic on it. A lot of times they'll eat it and they'll hold it. They won't initially swallow it. But when you have a live minnow and they eat it and it's wiggling around in their mouth, like they know this is a live fish, it's moving. When they eat a fake bait, I think they don't know right away. They have to be like, is this real? And then when it doesn't move, they'll spit it out. A lot of times they will not swallow a fake bait. So that's why you hear somebody being like, oh, I missed that one, because they'll bite it, but they'll spit it back out right away. And they can do that remarkably well when they're sucking in the bait and spitting it out without getting the hook in their mouth. Like if you don't set the hook, it's crazy how easily they can spit it out and how easy it is to hook yourself. Like it's not always hard. Like you don't really hook your fingers bad, but you poke yourself every once in a while and you're just like, how do you, what the heck? How did, whatever.
How the hell are they doing that?
how in the hell? So this is kind of hard to see a little bit here, but that's kind of like the bait keeper. There's just kind of like a spike right there. So you would thread
up
on
near the
soft
jig
plastic
head
up
and
there.
the hook.
Yeah. So it would go over. This isn't the best example. I should say we didn't really touch on it at all. I have a lot of really good stuff that I could have shown. All of it's up north. I went through my garage and just found what I could to show. So I have all of these jigs, but I don't have any with me. So we're just trying to give a little visual to make you understand what I'm talking about if you would like to see that stuff. Yeah. If not, I'm doing my best to try to explain stuff. And I know that I'm going to miss things, or I'm not going to explain some of it, or I'll forget to explain it all together. So again, if you have any questions, hit us up and be like, what was it? Show me a picture. I'll send you a picture of my... No, never mind.
No, never mind. We'll go there. But seriously, yes. Thank you for saying that in the middle of the topic, though, because, if you're getting this on the Wednesday, you miss all of the fun shenanigans at the beginning. And we didn't even record this part. But yeah, Tim, there was like 15 minutes of prep because Tim just starts pulling out tackle boxes. And he's like, oh, hold on. I'm going to get this one for the podcast. And then, I just grabbed this and it was just some stuff I had lying in the garage, and he's got like 5 or 6. I'm just laughing my ass off. I'm like, oh my God, you said most of your shit's up north. And I like one of those 5 is more tackle than I have. This is great.
I do have do have stuff that I keep here to fish the river with.
Right. So okay, let's get back to jigs quick. I want to go to size again because I want to hear what you have to say about this and in buying them. Dude, I saw as small as 1/40th of an ounce up to 1.5 ounces, and I was like, damn.
1/40th,
okay, first of all,
bro, that's crazy.
I know, dude. 1/40th of an ounce. You have some small ice jigs.
I'll just say that it might not look that big. Oh yeah. I have very.
We got a little delay.
I have small jigs. I don't think any of them. Yeah, there's a delay here. I don't know when that started, but it's here. The 1/40th is crazy small, and I'm sure that there's just a little tiny baby jig for like panfish in the ice. I don't have that. But speaking of like bigger jigs, I think you can even go past 1.5 ounces. But this one here might not look like it's much. This is a big freaking jig. And this one I think is an ounce. I think it's a full ounce. Listen, you hear that shit? I dropped it as a heavy jig.
Whoops.
But so no, I was trying to drop it. I wanted you guys to hear it. So when we're talking about the different sizes. Definitely the sizes play a role in the different fish that you're going for, but the type of bait or soft plastics or whatever you're trying to put on there too plays a role in what kind of jigs you're looking for, because the hook length is also actually different. No, I'm not trying to like give an advertisement, but these, I've been really feeling these lately. These are the Northland tungsten. Shit is not cheap, dude, because it's tungsten. But these work so good, they're so worth it. I just have to make sure I have my leader material on and try not to lose them. These are a bummer when you lose, because this 2-pack is like $6.99 or something. That's for 2 jigs. So these are like, $3.50 a jig. So that one hurts when you're losing them, which, they're not all that much, but these jigs are phenomenal because they're tungsten. The size of them, this is a 1/4 ounce, which is not small, but like early in the year, my kind of go to earlier in the year for walleyes and stuff. A lot of times I'm using like an 1/8 ounce, and I'll go to like a 1/4 ounce a little bit later in the year. Other people do different things, but like this is just what I like because of how I like to fish them. And this I've been using in the weeds. And the big benefit to using this in the weeds is, how we were talking about shape and stuff with the round ones. I have round jig heads that don't come through the grass well. Look how thin that is.
What? I thought it was just going to be a ball.
Compared to like, no, so it's round. See if it's round like that. But then when you turn it sideways, it's definitely a lot skinnier. And this thing comes through the weeds. It comes through the weeds really, really well. Like when I lift it, I can feel what it's doing. Some of the other jigs that I've had, when I go to lift it to like rip it through the weeds, I kind of lose it. I'm just feeling all the weeds. I'm feeling extra weight, and I don't really know necessarily what's going on. And this plays such a big role because in our next episode, we chatted about it a little bit, and we'll talk about how some of my fishing's been going lately.
Yeah.
And I've talked about it on the past and where I was having trouble finding some of the big walleyes on my lake and stuff because I'm finding the smaller ones hiding out. And I think I just catch so many damn small ones. I bet there's bigger ones in there, but I think the small ones are more aggressive and they're in the more open water. I've been finding bigger fish in the weeds.
That's a teaser. I like that.
My personal best came from in the weeds, and then I caught a 22-inch in the weeds. Like, and I've been catching some like decent size eater fish and stuff, and it's because I'm finding them in the weeds.
Nice.
And it's a lot to do with this profile of jig. So that's where some of this comes into too. Like there are, because you might walk down the aisle and be like, there's so many different jigs. They're all 1/4 ounces. What am I looking at?
Oh.
Well, the profiles and different. A 1/4 ounce. I wish I had one of the ones to show you. The Callan's is another one that I use where it's a Callan's.
He's looking. He might have one.
No, I don't.
Who knows what's here? There could be one.
I have one for sure.
But that was a really good point there that just really hit for me, where you said, oh, look at all these. They're all a 1/4 ounce. But there's differences in them. Like this tungsten one that you were just pulling up from Northland is like, I thought it was just going to be a round ball.
Yeah.
In the package, totally thought it was going to be a round ball. You turn it sideways, blew my mind.
That's the short shank too. Like if you're watching on YouTube, I'm putting my finger up there. You can see that it's like the hook to like, I don't know, just past my first knuckle.
Yeah.
So it's not much over an inch. So that shank doesn't go that far back. So depending on the bait you're using, like if I was planning on using like a 5-inch long shad, it might not be the best hook to have on there because of how, it would just kind of be awkward.
Sure.
But this short shank is like, I think it's money for what I'm fishing because it's not getting hung up much and stuff. There's not as much area for the weeds to kind of get like between my line and the shank itself.
Uh-huh.
I think my line is almost working as a weed guard a little bit because the line itself is so close to the point of the hook. I might be wrong there, but that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
So,
That's
I
crazy.
mean, yeah. So that's been working really well in the weeds. And so to get back
right?
to for size and stuff, but I want to say like too,
Okay.
when we were talking about like moving the different eyelets and stuff,
Oh yeah.
best thing for you to do is when you think that you want to fish for a certain fish or whatever, go and try to look that stuff up. I know that like MLF actually has great articles on their website. And one of them, like, because I was just kind of, looking around and stuff and trying to get better visuals. And I was like, no, I can't. That's just, I shouldn't be showing their pictures. Like, that's not right.
Plagiarism.
So, but like they have Bass Fishing 101, choose the right jig. And it literally like lays it all out for you, where it's talking about swim jig, which is what we touched on, like those. I showed a couple examples of that because that's what I have here.
Yep.
And that's one that I like to fish in the river, because the river with the current is more of like a cast and retrieve. I can't jig it too much because there's a lot of rocks.
Right.
And you could jig in the rocks, but that riprap that I fish a lot, I lose so many things in there that I'm just like, I'm not even trying to jig. Like, it might be a beneficial way to try to fish this, but I'm not trying to lose stuff constantly, so I'll just I'll just fish a different way and try to keep my stuff off the rocks.
Right.
But if you wanted to get on the rocks, when we're talking about like a skirted jig, I'll just run down a couple of different things so because there's different. A football jig is literally the shape of like a football head. That one's made to be worked like through rocks and stuff. Like, you cast it out and you just you can drag it across rocks. And then you would put like a creature bait or a crawfish trailer, and then that's what you're kind of mimicking, something just kind of like walking across the rocks, or a crawfish kind of swimming across the rocks. When you watch some of the guys fishing, you can kind of learn what they're fishing to by how they're working their rod, because you fish these things differently, So sometimes when you see a guy casting out and they're just slowly lifting their rod up, they're fishing like a football jig, where it's just kind of like walking across the rocky shores wherever they're at, or they're fishing a Carolina rig where they're just dragging a worm on the bottom, basically, or whatever they have rigged up to that. So I'm not trying to get into the weeds and say like all the things.
No, because you said rigs. You already said that in the other episode. It's like, rigs is a whole episode. Trust me on that one.
Right.
It's like, yep, so I believe you.
Right. So when you're watching them, they're just moving it and they're lifting it. So going down the line real quick, like, there's just, as I'm looking at this, if you want to go check this out because you're curious about like the skirted jigs, they're talking about the flipping jigs, which is just talking about like basically it's heavier duty everything, because you're flipping stuff around cover, you're flipping stuff around, docks or down trees and stuff, and you want heavier hooks, heavier weed guards, all that different stuff, because you're literally casting it or flipping it into some heavier stuff where you could get hung up on, or you could have some issues. Or if you actually catch a fish, another big reason why you have to have the gear for this stuff, you're not only fighting the fish, you're trying to keep them out of that cover. And if they get around that cover, they get wrapped around that stuff, you have the gear to be able to try to pull them out. Like, if you're fishing some sticks, maybe, that heavier gauge hook isn't trying to just pull your bass. You're trying to pull that bass like over the log that he swam around after you set the hook, or whatever it happens to be.
Right.
That's worst case scenario. If you set the hook, you're trying not to let them swim at all down into that stuff. You watch the pros. It's fun because they'll go, oh, and as soon as they set it up, they go, no, you stay out of there, stay out of there. They almost start talking to the fish almost every time. Don't go down there. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. So
can you talk about flipping? Because that was like, I had a list of things here and I was like, flipping jig. Like, so flipping is kind of like an underhand side toss as far as
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
technique
So,
goes?
flipping and pitching, I looked one time because I forget what the differences are in
Oh,
the
yeah,
two
but
different
so just say
terms.
the generals, both of them.
Yeah.
You're good.
So it's like, yeah, you're kind of close to cover, and what you're doing is you're underhand tossing it with the bait caster, and you're setting it down in different spots. Like you're putting it there, you're putting it here, because you see a spot that you want to, you think the fish will be there. That's where you want to put it in. And sometimes you won't necessarily like flip it out and then
Mm.
work it all the way back to the boat. You'll flip it out, bounce it around a little bit where you think there might be a fish, and if it doesn't
Mhm.
happen, you reel it back in and flip it again. You know,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I was literally just had my nephew out, and I was trying to tell him like high percentage casts. Like, don't worry about some of this downtime, or like the 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 less chance. Like, if you're casting at a dock
Yep.
and you think that there's a fish underneath the dock,
Mhm.
and you're working a jig, work that jig along the dock, in the shade, wherever you happen to be next to that where you think the fish is. And then once you get it past that dock and you're out past that dock, unless you know that there's some weeds or some other structure and stuff there,
Yep.
crank that bitch up.
Just get it in.
That
Okay.
lasts like 30, 40 feet, crank it up and cast at that structure again.
Right. Okay.
Don't leave it sit there. And that's what the flipping basically is, but like in a way closer.
No-
Some
Yeah,
the water clarity can kind of play a role in some of this. Some lakes you can get away with it. Some lakes
sure.
you got to stay a little bit further back.
Sure.
But you're just, flipping it. And another reason that you flip a jig is because when you cast, you're launching that thing and it's getting some height, and when it comes in, it splashes.
Oh,
Boosh.
yeah.
When you flip it, if you do it right, you can put it down really gently in the water where it's just a gentle kind of like bloop, like,
Mm. Mm.
and it doesn't spook the fish. There might be fish directly underneath the cover,
Mhm.
and you have that big splash, it might run away,
Right.
or
Right.
even if it doesn't run away, it might kind of swim away from where your jig hit.
Right.
And if it gently lands in, it might literally turn to be like, what just hit the water? Like a frog
Mhm.
doesn't fall from 30 feet up.
Right.
It,
Good
it
point.
lands
Good
right
point.
there. So it's like whatever bait it is, for the most part, isn't landing that hard.
Right.
So when you're being more stealthy about it, that really helps out.
N-
So, and
How,
go ahead.
yeah. How do you know if you're going into a store to buy a flippin' jig? How do you know what you're getting into? Like, does it say flippin' jig on it, or can you?
Most are getting a lot better about that, because in the past, a lot of them would like, they would, talk about it would still say like the flipping jig or whatever. And some of them, it would talk a little bit about it, but now a lot of them, like, you can read the packaging and it will just lay it all out there. Like,
Oh,
this jig is designed with the best weed guard and the thickest hook, and they'll tell you everything. So,
okay.
um, like a couple episodes past, I had shown a jig, and the one jig that I had there was like a casting jig, and that was like a do-it-all style jig,
Okay.
which is weird, and it makes it kind of hard. So some of it's kind of like figuring out what you like too, because some of it's like designed to do a certain thing, and for some reason, like, some of it I just like, personal preference, I just go like, I don't like it for that one. Like, I'll
Okay.
give you a perfect example. There is a punching jig, right? Because
Okay.
punching mats is a thing. When you have lily
Oh,
pads and weeds that grow to the surface,
right.
it's matted vegetation, it's thick. And a lot of people will fish a frog topwater through that and stuff,
Right.
but you can punch through the mats. Like, if you know that there's like a little hole here, you can let your stuff fall.
Okay.
They have jigs that are made to punch the mats, but a jig has a head,
Yeah.
and then it has the hook that comes out like this.
Right.
And the way it's all set up, the weight is right here. I'll hold this one, for this is not one you would use. The weight's right here, and the hook is over here. So there's all this
There's a lot of
space.
space for the hook to get caught up on.
Yeah. So I got another jig here that makes it a little bit easier to explain this. But this jig, the head and how the hook is shaped, that point is directly over the head.
Hey.
So the way this
Okay.
curve is, like, that's going to go through weeds a little bit better. This one's not designed for that, but
But
I like to punch like a Texas rig through because I don't think that the jig lines up the hook properly with punching matted vegetation. And I
uh-huh.
don't think the skirt is necessary when you're punching through matted vegetation. I think that skirt just gets in the way and gives
Yeah.
more
Okay.
stuff to be hung up on, you know?
Right.
So
And
my
even
personal
maybe look
preference,
weird, right? As it bounces off the weeds and shit. Like it's in
yeah, I
open
mean,
water. I can see how a skirt is meant to flow and move and like cause uh, a fish brain to just go, oh, hey, what the hell's that? Where it probably almost just gets lost in the weeds.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's some of the
Right.
weeds, once you
I
get
don't know
past that
either.
matted
But
vegetation, it can actually be a lot of space down there because it's just like the stems of lily pads. So the
oh,
matted vegetation is like thick on the surface, but once
on
you
the
get past that,
surface.
there can be some open space. So there
Okay.
can be a role for it, and it has that bulk, so it might be getting the fish's attention, the bigger fish and stuff. So it's all personal preference. If you want to roll like that, I'm just making the example of that might be perfect for you. You might love it. That might be something you want to do. I prefer to punch Texas rigs through a big heavy weight with like a more slimmer uh creature on it, and that I don't need a weed guard for because I
Mm-hmm.
can just bury the hook because it lines up like this. Now this jig is a little bit different style where this one is actually called a pumpkin ed jig,
Oh, yeah. Okay. You've talked about
because
this a little bit.
so this one, like when it sits, that's on the back of my hand and it just sits up. So when it goes to the bottom of the lake, it just stands up like that.
Yeah.
And this one, it has a little bait keeper here where you literally screw like the worm on the front, because this you could fish like a crayfish, but this is more like designed for a worm. And you would screw the nose of the worm in here and then bury this hook in the worm itself so it's like completely weedless, and then the rest of the
Oh.
worm just kind of trails up. So if you get like a bait that actually floats and stuff, you could drop this to the bottom, and like
Uh-huh.
just like we were talking with the feather, if it's a floating one, any current will just make that worm kind of wiggle a little
Just
bit, and then you pop
wiggle.
it and then it'll wiggle a little bit and move. And that's kind of the idea behind like a shaky head jig too, which a shaky head is a very finesse, very small jig for fishing bass and stuff. Like the weight itself is way small, and you generally fish
Huh.
that kind of jig on a spinning setup because of how light it is, and a lot of fishermen hate it. It's not the funnest way to fish because you cast it out, and it's called a shaky head because you literally just kind of like move your rod a little bit, you're like just kind of shaking it, and it gives the
Like you just
movement.
vibrate it
It's a
basically.
finesse. Yeah, like it's a finesse, and it's, like on a day where like the fish do not want to bite, and you just gotta slow it way down and just shake that thing a little bit. It's a very slow way of fishing. You don't cover a lot of ground very fast.
Uh-huh.
So
So
it
is
sucks
is the
sometimes if you don't know where the fish are, but it works really well in certain scenarios.
okay. That's yeah. So yeah, it's difficult. I get it. It's the hard to master part of the jigs, like we kind of talked about at the
Right.
beginning, I think. And
Yeah.
when you say um okay, so I'm trying to think of my words that exactly. I'm trying to piece together the words, but what I'm trying to get at is the shaky head. You said okay, you shake it, but like is it still solid, or is there something about the jig that makes it shake too, or like that is designed about the weight itself, Do you get where I'm going?
Yes. So it's a lot like this. It'll be a very
Oh,
small
that
little ball,
football one
and
again.
then it'll
No, what is
have,
it called? Sorry.
yeah,
Pumpkin head.
this is the pumpkin Ed, because it's actually like it was initially called the pumpkin head jig, but this one's called the pumpkin Ed because it was designed by Edwin Evers. I think is how you say his last
Mm-hmm.
name. Is it Edwin Evers or Edwin Evers? But so that's called the pumpkin Ed because Edwin. So
Mm-hmm.
that's,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but it's a lot like this. A lot of them are designed where it's a very small head and you screw on the nose of the worm and then you put the worm up and it's a way smaller hook. And it doesn't do
Okay.
anything. It's just the weight is so small and everything. You're really doing everything. So that goes
Okay.
back to being able to like master it by learning the technique, but also the gear. Like that, you have to have small setup and stuff to
Mm-hmm.
be able to fish that
Right.
because you have to be able to feel that small weight and small stuff. Where vice versa, you can't be using that small stuff to be casting out these big jigs. It's going to be
Right.
bending your pole when you try to lift it. Your rod's just going to bend. You're not going to be actually able to like lift the jig and feel it properly and stuff. So some of it
Right.
really comes down to exactly what you're doing and stuff. Um,
Sure.
so and there are finesse styles of the skirted jig as well, where the ball gets smaller, and then a lot of times those to give it a little bit of extra movement, where when you're trying to go slower and stuff, the skirts will
Mm-hmm.
actually not only be like this is a terrible head to try to show you on, but not only be here. Maybe I got a different one. Maybe like this flu food jig where it won't only be tied on the back, like you can see that red is
Yeah.
tied. It'll
Yeah.
actually
Almost
have
like a
like
fly.
if you had a little bit of those feathers like sticking out the front too. So
Oh.
they'll do that with the rubber skirt where it's a little bit sticking out the front too. They don't do it on all of them, but a lot of them, like the finesse
Mm-hmm.
style, do have the where they'll just tie the skirt, they'll literally just leave like a half-inch stick out the front so it kind of covers up the ball almost. And I don't know exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what the purpose for that is. Um, I'm sure it just gives it a little bit of movement in the front and the back and, gives it some more life. But
Right.
there's
Yeah.
definitely smaller versions of those skirted jigs too. And then that
Okay.
kind of gets into the weeds on what kind of gear you're using. Maybe spinning if it's
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
enough, maybe bait caster and you just have to use a smaller bait caster setup. That's
Mm-hmm.
why when you see these pros, they have 20 rods and reels because they might have like one for a
Right.
small jig and they want to use a certain jig with a certain bait caster. It's because all these different techniques and all these different jigs can use different rods and reels.
Right.
So
Right.
that's why it gets into the
That's
weeds of
fucking
just like, is
crazy.
it hard to master? And, it's like, yeah, because to master it, you really have to have an arsenal,
Right.
It's,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a really good way of putting it. Because that was like that was kind of how I had things written down too in my notes was like, okay, if there's this finesse, because I kind of understand what finesse is and casting and swimming and swimmers and all this stuff. And it did seem to me like this is where the gear comes into play. Like this is a jig is a way to, if you're looking at just jigs, I'll say that. So if you're looking at just jigs, right, and you want to get good at fishing jigs, and you want to fill up your tackle box with jigs, you're going to eventually get to a point where you have to start getting into reels and rods and combos and the what is it, action of the rod.
yes. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
You like this is a jig is fit for all of that stuff, and that's yeah. So you
Right.
explained it all perfectly, but it was like, yeah, dude, I had that note down as that was one of my main questions. So I just love the way that you answered it. It's like that's why you
Right.
have an arsenal.
Yes. And
So
now
crazy
I
to
know
think
that we're
about.
getting I know that we're getting close to being done with the fishing topic. So I
Yeah,
just
we're
want to hit
close.
rapid fire. I'm just gonna hit some different stuff. Now,
Oh, okay.
when we're talking about bass fishing, it's all mainly the different skirts have are made of like the same material. Some are like a way finer. Sometimes when you're looking at it and
Mhm.
you're like, why is that one more expensive? Because the skirt's made out of a finer material The skirt may be made out of a more durable material. The skirt in the power bait is actually scented. Maybe that's one reason. The
Oh.
weights themselves can be made out of tungsten. They can be made out of other metals.
Yep.
The hooks themselves can be made out of different materials.
Oh. Right.
So you're looking at all these different things. So generally, when you're looking at stuff and it's a trusted name brand, it's more expensive because all of the components they use. And not to say that like smaller tackle companies don't use good stuff too.
Right.
It's just I can't vouch for all of them, I don't know them. I'm not going to be like, go, yeah, whatever. If they say $10, spend $10. They know what they're talking about. I don't know those guys. Some of them are legit. Some of them are some guys that are ripping off other people's shit. Just trying to make money off of it,
Right.
But who knows? So, but when you're talking about other jigs, which basically like this, 100% you could fish for bass. Just depends on what you put on it, So
that little tungsten, that thing would
the short
catch
tungsten.
bass?
Yes, forgot again. People, I'm just listening. I just go, this you could fish for bass. Yeah. Also, this. You're looking at this. Are you guys taking a peek at that one? No, I didn't hold up anything there. If you're just listening, sorry. I'm trying to do better. The junkston you could catch for was the bass nass. This
jig.
Okay,
tungsten.
Sorry.
The
came up with a new word. Jig, the short shank tungsten jig by Northland catches bass. I catch bass on it all the time. I catch northerns on it. The reason I don't have some of these jigs and I just bought 3 more packs is because northerns. You'd stop eating my shit. Anyways. So you can catch bass, but a lot of these are designed for other stuff. Now, there are different materials when you're out there. So feathers will keep moving in the water. Hair. This is a hair jig.
Oh, shit.
Now, there's an old soft plastic there. This is actual hair. Some of the hair jigs
Cruella
are
de Vil
made.
hair.
Yeah, exactly. And this one has we just keep saying say 2 words and but this one has a little bit of like shimmery tinsel in there too, so it gives it some shine. But then it's hair, because hair also keeps moving. Now buck hair, which hence buck tails, like the single inline spinner blades, those are actually deer hair because their hair is hollow, so it moves better in the water. I don't know if this one's buck. I don't remember. This one's an older jig made by VMC. It's a hair jig. You can put whatever. I got a old soft plastic on there too. So I was fishing that like that for different. You can see how elongated that head is.
That looks like a little minnow by itself, but just has the eye on top.
I'm pulling it like kind of this.
Tie.
This is right. This one's more of like a kind of open water, not fishing in like real thick grass or whatever. But that one's hair. Now that other one had a little bit of like tinsel on there. Some of them are all tinsel. This one's like 100% tinsel. It's very shiny. Another VMC one. Now, the crazy thing about it is look at the size difference there. Panfish.
Oh, yeah.
Walleye on the bottom, basically. That's what it goes for. You can see the size difference in the hooks. Hooks way smaller on the little guy, bigger on the bigger guy, obviously. So you're looking at different sizes. You're looking at different weights. How you're fishing.
Yeah, and for the people who weren't watching for those, you had 2 of almost the identical different colors, but you had like 2 identical jigs, and the walleye one was bigger. I don't know, I'll say like 2-3 inches or something like that. And then it was just like, cut that in half. It was like the same thing though, but it would catch different kinds of fish.
Right. Same thing, different size for panfish or whatever. Now, this is not trying to get too off topic because I'm going to keep going with some jigs, but I wanted to show you, here's the exact same style jig as that little one. Now you put a safety pin style bait on it. There's a blade. Now this is a spinner bait. Oh. That jig became a spinner bait with the addition of a blade. I did not. This is made by Blue Fox. Also under the Rapala or Rapala umbrella, same as VMC. Yeah. That's why these jigs are so the same thing. And then the Blue Fox, that actually came in a pack of like 5, I think. So there's 5 different jigs. One of them had the blade already attached to it. And then there was literally like, then you have 4 other colors that you could swap it out with.
Oh, wow.
Almost like 5 baits in one, unless you get bit off by a northern, your blade's gone, then you just have a
You're going to keep going back to that. Fuckers.
So now that was just to show you that there are differences. You can do stuff. Johnson's Beetle Spin has been around forever, and theirs is a jig with a soft plastic on it with a blade like that, and that's just how it's sold. You get that, and then it comes with like,
the plastic.
Yeah, 3 additional.
Is it like glued? Is the plastic like then factory glued on? Is that what you're saying? It's not.
Here, let me show you. Not glued on. Johnson Beetle Spin. Right there. Here you go.
Here, hold on. I just happen to have one.
Yeah. So it's still in the packaging here. Jig head.
There it is. Plastic, in focus, but
blades on there. Those are 3 different. One of them has soft plastic. The other 2 are there. So like if your soft plastic gets damaged by a fish, you got 2 more. Okay. And you can literally put on whatever soft plastic.
Yeah. It just comes with a suggested. It's like when they say when the food's all pretty on the front of the Triscuit box, and they're just like serving suggestion. It's actually just full of fucking Triscuits.
Yeah.
But this one comes with the fucking extra cheese on it in the box with it.
Here's a Triscuit with a little bit of salmon and a little bit of smoked Gouda on that. Doesn't that look nice? We know you're just going to put some of that easy cheese out of the can on it, you cheap fuck. So you can put whatever you want on it. Now this is made by Strike King. It's called a sausage head.
It looks like a sausage.
It looks like a little sausage. Yeah.
It looks like a grub.
So this one actually comes with that grub like body on there. That soft plastic. It came pre-rigged with that straight from Strike King. So that's what that one looks right out of the gate. So you can put that on there. This is not by Strike King. Almost the exact same soft plastic on there.
Oh yeah.
Not made by the same company whatsoever. This one has a way weirder shaped jig head.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Because this one's like
shaped like a 7.
It's not called a reed runner, but it's something like that. I forget what they call that. It's something like that. Maybe
I've never seen a jig that looks like that before. That looks like some fucking weird cartoon character from like Cartoon Network.
Right? It's got a
now it looks like a fucking seahorse now that you changed it that way.
A runny nose. It's got a spinner for a runny nose.
Yeah, it does.
Achoo!
Seahorse runny nose spinner.
So it's got that head shape because it wants that underspin, like when you're jigging it or reeling it.
Oh, sure.
That blade doesn't hit the body.
And when these come pre-rigged with the soft on them, with the soft plastic on it already, is it manufactured glued on, or it's just they just rigged it already for you?
They're just rigged.
Okay,
they're not glued on. And sometimes people glue them on. That is a tip that you can put some super glue on there, but super glue has like a stink to it, so I'm always nervous about gluing it on there. But people do it.
Okay.
And they have good luck. So I mean, that was just a couple of examples there of that. And speaking of like already pre-rigged, some jig heads are literally designed for certain baits. This is a storm search bait. I can't remember what this is called. I think it's called a 360 GT or something, like 360 search bait.
Okay.
So this one has a head on it.
Yep.
It's like a swim bait, but the tie is actually on the top. Because I don't know necessarily the design idea on that, if it's just weighted in such a way that it swims well like that. I thought that was kind of weird the first time I bought it, but this literally, like the soft plastic
is cut to it, isn't it? It's like the back of the jig head has a 45-degree angle on it, so that means the opposite is on the soft plastic.
Yeah. Holy shit. The soft plastic is like cut to it. That jig head is shaped in such a way to literally just use that soft plastic.
Yeah.
And
And
then
it also has the bait. What are those called again?
yeah, the bait keeper. I thought it
Yeah.
would focus in a little bit there better, but not so much. But you can kind of
Yeah.
see
Oh,
like how it's ribbed.
You can see it.
And it
Yeah.
holds on there well, so it doesn't pull off. And they make those in a couple of different sizes, but that there is, in a nutshell,
Specifically
like one that's
manufactured to go together.
Yeah, right. They are made for each other. So sometimes you get stuff like that where it's not really made to do anything else. So when you're getting pre-rigged stuff, kind of watch out for that sometimes. There's not a whole lot of baits like this.
Yeah.
But like this sausage head, if I lose this one, I just put on another one, whatever. Anything that fits the bill that's the same size. I can literally put anything on there.
As far as
same with any of this tinsels, I could put on a live bait. If I'm fishing for crappie, I could put on some, whatever I have. Euro larva, which is a fancy way of saying maggots. I could put on some wax worms. Whatever it happens to be, you could add other stuff, tip it to it. And it works out. So most jigs you can add whatever you want, but I just brought this one in to be like, when you're out there looking at it, don't be like, oh, I'll buy this one and make it work. Because in rare occasions, the jig heads are made specifically for that soft plastic, like the
that's
soft
pre-rigged.
Plastic.
Yeah. Which is a perfect thing for like a beginner's guide to this stuff. Cause like it's still a jig setup, but it just doesn't seem that way really when, again, it's just back to the jig is a weight with a hook on it. This is very specific.
Right. And now that I've been showing all this other stuff, and I just realized this whole time I could have been showing this without the blade. Now, first off, I had this trailer on there, so try to ignore that trailer. You see that there's the skirted jig goes straight to the hook.
Yeah.
This is referred to as chatterbait or a bladed jig.
Yeah.
Now, this is the jackhammer. I was talking about this in the last episode when we were talking about iCast.
Yep.
This one is a little bit more, it has everything where I thought it had everything that you wanted, but we learned last time, I guess they improved on this because this is like a $16 lure right here.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, I know. It's not cheap. So it has the jig head itself is like shaped in a way. And this blade, when you fish it, it literally goes, back and forth like this really fast in the water. Just and it gives it a really hard vibration.
Yep. But it's still a jig. Like that's in the end, right?
It's still a jig, and the blade, if anybody's not watching it is on the blade that is attached to the nose of the jig, vibrates really fast, and it is shaped like a coffin. Like but not a full long coffin. If you took the top of the old school coffins,
right,
where it had that, like Dracula shape, but then you got like halfway down and then you cut off the bottom.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like a coffin shaped blade. And when you get this, I have a little that's a flat nose minnow Berkeley Max scent, which when this episode comes out, go to your Shields and check if they still have them on sale, because I was getting them for $1.99, bro. It's a great deal. I bought 9 packs of soft plastics and spent less than $20. And if I would have paid full price, that was over $70.
Yeah.
So
it was
that's what
awesome.
I'm talking about.
You texted the receipt right away.
Yeah, we've talked about. Yeah, so if the sale, it's just like discounted. I think they're just trying to get rid of some of them. Go check them out. You might have to.
Yeah, because the new shit should be coming out here soon.
Yeah. Well, I think they'll probably be starting to switch over. Is what Shields likes to do that. When you get to the end of the season, end of the ice season, end of the summer season, they start discounting stuff. They don't always discount the soft plastics and stuff and the summer baits. Those just kind of like stay year round for the most part. Sure. But I think some of that Max stuff, or the Max scent and the gulps and stuff,
Have an
might get a
expiration
little
date.
bit weird. Yeah, they might have a little bit of an expiration date. I don't know that for sure, but I'm willing to risk it. $1.99, whatever. If they get a little bit stiff, I don't care. Just
Right.
be like, the action's not great, but the price was right. You know.
So before we wrap, because we
Hold
hit
on,
our
real
no,
quick.
I think this might
I
be
got.
the same. We might be getting into it. Hit me.
Oh, is this what you were talking about?
Well, I was going to talk
This
about
bait.
trails or trailer. What do you call
Oh,
them again? Damn it.
trailers. Yeah,
Trailers.
trailers. So there's
Yeah.
trailers of all different sizes and kinds, and I just wanted to show you this one because I brought it up before. This one is specifically made for a chatterbait,
Oh,
or a bladed jig, because this one goes
right.
on there. It's got the two tails that, just give it a little bit of action. You put it on there, you reel it up, and it just adds a little bit more to what's going on,
Yeah. That one's like a
So
frog. It's like a frog, but I'd call it a creature bait
yeah,
because it's like a fish shape
it's
with a
well,
frog,
it's a fish
short legs.
shape, and then it's just got like a tail in the back that just gives you some movement. This one was
Yeah, and I
designed.
say
This is
frog like
another
I
power
mean
bait.
literal frog. I mean, if like
Yeah.
something that's long in the water and then has kicking legs in the back of it. I'm not talking
Oh,
about a fishing frog.
right. I'll
I
show
should
you
have
this
clarified
too.
that.
If you can see this,
Yep, it just came
just to
into
give you an
focus. So if you're
example of what we're
hooked to
talking about
use,
now when you're
bladed
talking,
jig.
yeah,
Yeah,
what to use. So that's a lot of packaging nowadays gives you those kind of guidelines. So if you're
that's
having any
really good
questions,
tip.
most of the baits are there, and go in. If you don't want to talk to anybody, you don't have to. She just can be like, they come over, can I help you with anything? And sometimes people are just like, well, I don't really know what I'm looking at. And if you want help, they'll help you. If you don't want help, just be like, I'm good. If you say, I don't know what I'm looking at, they're just going to be like, I know what you're looking at. Let me tell you everything. If you want to learn stuff yourself, just be like, fuck off, bro. I don't need you to talk. I'm here to read boxes and packages. You might look like you're, trying to case the place and steal something, but as long as you don't, you're fine. Don't,
Right. Yeah. And if you just want to learn it from some fishing buddies and you don't have any, well, here you go. Real AFTV podcast. Hit us up.
hit us up.
We'll
I'll tell
talk to
you.
you.
Yeah, we'll talk to you. But as far as trailers go, there's all different sizes. There's all different scents.
Yeah.
Power bait is good at giving you. Here's another thing too. Power bait's giving you that thing. How to use it. What to put it on.
Right.
Power bait has a lot of packaging like this where it lets you know. If you're looking at something and you're not necessarily sure and that packaging doesn't tell you, go to Power Bait. Power Bait
Find
has something
similar.
of almost every. Yeah, exactly. Has a trailer for almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly everything. I'm saying almost everything because I don't know off the top of my head, but I would say you'd be hard pressed to not be able to find something made by Berkeley that will not fit on whatever you're trying to put it on.
Mm-hmm.
And like Josh just said, look at that if you're looking at something similar, for the most part. And the trailer, where a jig can accept a lot of different trailers,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of trailers can be used on a jig, or it can be used in a Texas rig or a Carolina rig, or all the, so it all becomes
That's
this
part
different
of what
stuff.
I was
And
perfect.
when we were talking about rigs, holy man,
We'll get
I
into
talked about
rigs.
it
I mean, we
last
just
time.
did
There's
a whole lot more hour plus on just jigs, and I have another half of podcast written here that obviously we're not going to get into, but I thank you for just answering it without me asking. And that was like, so a trailer is a soft plastic, and then you pulled up one and it's
right.
like, this says specifically you should use this on a jig. That would be a great way to fish this. So it's a trailer. It's not necessarily just a soft plastic. It's a trailer because you would put it on a jig, aka making it a trailer. And then you also answered the other question that I was going to ask, and that's like, so they are ones that are specifically made for a jig? Yes. But
Yeah.
do they have to go on a jig? And the answer is, well, no, but Power Bait will tell you.
Right, exactly.
If it's the right way to go or something like that. So
not all of it is necessarily soft plastic, because there are different brands that have dabbled into different materials that are supposed to last a little bit longer.
Okay.
Like Uncle Josh is the actual brand that's been around for a very long time.
That's awesome.
And they use legitimate pork. Like it's
Whoa.
It is. So back
I feel
in
like
the
you
day,
probably told me this in like one of the first 2 episodes.
I think I've touched on it, but back in the day,
it was so long ago. This is all brand new to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So back in the day, there was, you'd have your jig and then you would put the piece of like Uncle Josh's pork on it where it is a trailer, and it's literally just like a thick little, it moves well, but it has a scent and it's tough. It's not like your normal soft plastic that can pull apart. And the term that they would use is a jig and pig because of the pork.
Dude.
Yeah.
Such a good name.
Yeah. So the jig and pig would use the pork. Now Uncle Josh has been moved into other stuff. People actually use it for walleyes and stuff because they have nightcrawler imitations that are made out of this pork material.
Interesting.
There is some ice fishing bait that I have that is beaver tail. Whoa. So you can get different stuff that's not live and it's not soft plastic. So there are different materials, but a trailer is just, designed to be put on the hook. But for the most part, it is soft plastic. Some of them are scented, some of them are unscented. Gulp is made out of a material that if you leave on your hook and you let it dry out, it will shrink up and you literally have to cut it off with like a scissors or something. It will not come off by you just trying to pull it. It's crazy. It shrinks up.
So crazy.
Yeah.
It turns to like a piece of plastic that's attached to your fucking...
Yeah.
It's crazy weird.
And Gulp is made by Berkeley, so that's just a completely different material that they make it out of.
Right.
Z-Man is made out of a different material. Northland's Eye Candy, I got some upstairs. I bought some. Doesn't have any scent, so you can add scent to it, but it says like use water-based or oil-based because a soluble base can actually mess with it because the plastic that it's made out of, they even say do not let it out of its original packaging. Because if you do, it can damage your plastic tackle box. It can damage your other stuff. Whatever that shit is made out of can actually eat away at other plastics that it's surrounding.
Oh my God.
Keep it in its original plastic case, it's fine. And I bought some bait fuel because it doesn't have any scent. And I like to have scent. They're literally just like, we didn't scent it. So you can scent it if you want to, or you don't have to use scent, whatever you're up to. So I put a little bit of the scent in
into
earlier
the case
today.
itself.
And I plan to fish like maybe tomorrow night. Definitely Saturday morning, as long as nothing goes wrong. I don't want to jinx myself and be like, oh, we'll be out there. You never know. But maybe it's all that different stuff. So there's scented stuff, there's non-scented stuff.
Yeah.
There's different scents. I have very
But all
good
that
luck.
that is stuff you do to the trailer of the jig. That's all soft.
Right.
That's and just, I guess to put it simply, is the jig is the weight and the hook.
The jig is the weight and the hook, and you need to have a trailer to catch fish for the most part. So the trailer actually comes into play, and some of the baits part two really work.
Or like it's a 2-part thing.
Yeah.
A jig is a real thing. Is a thing. It's just it's a hook.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of hook.
And it's a different kind of hook. It's a hook with a weight, and the weight can be different shapes, different sizes.
Mm-hmm.
The skirt that's on it, because these are technically skirts too. The skirt that's on it can be made of tinsel, can be made of hair. The skirt can literally be made out of the soft plastic itself, where this has a skirt, but that skirt is part of the plastic itself.
Right.
If I take off,
never thought about it, but it has a skirt
that shit
built.
This one, when I was saying that they're not glued, I think this one is. I don't know. That one did not come off there easy. I tore that plastic in half. No, that's just a crazy hook keeper. It's got like 2 points on each side. It's hard to see.
Yep, I see that.
2 points on each side holding it. But when I ripped that off of there, it's a weight with a hook.
It's a weight, right?
That was just a soft plastic on there.
And then you set it up.
Weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same thing on the skirted jigs, where the skirted jigs for the most part is just a skirt being held on by a rubber band. And that's all it is. When that skirt's gone, you're looking at a weight with a hook.
Right.
And a lot of those same jigs you can get without skirts. They have football head
Oh,
jigs that don't have skirts to like make it a little
sure.
bit more of a realistic profile.
Sure.
Like a crawfish doesn't have a skirt, which still catches fish. When you look at a crawfish with a skirt and the claws are up and then there's just a skirt in front of it,
Mm-hmm.
if I looked at that and I was a fish, obviously we're way smarter than fish, I'd just be like, the fuck is that? That's
Right.
nothing.
Yeah.
But if you have the weight holding the bottom of it and you can't see the difference that well, that crawfish will look like a crawfish because there's no skirt there. So sometimes you can turn off the fish by having a skirt or, doing some stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So other times you just get it without the skirt. You can get the football head jig without a skirt.
Mm-hmm.
This pumpkin head jig is very close to like a skirted jig, but it just completely different hook design, different bait keeper,
Sure.
and you have no skirt. There's not a whole lot different between this and the skirted jig.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you said, I mean, in short, I know I say in short after we talked for an hour and 40 minutes, but in short, that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's different sizes, different weights, the hooks, all of it can change for specific baits that you want to put on there, specific techniques. And it's just kind of like a touch and feel, learning everything. A lot of the stuff that you see that I have here, to be honest, the reason I have it here is because I don't use a lot of this stuff. What I'm showing you, don't be like, I got to go out and grab everything you just showed me, because I don't use a lot of this stuff because it doesn't fall into the right scenario. None of this stuff is bad. It just doesn't work perfectly for what I'm using it for, which is why I have it in my bag that I keep here, because if I go fish the river, it might be different. If I go fish some other body of water that's close and I'm just fishing from shore, all these things might work in a dingier water, in a different setting where the bottom material is different, a different type of weeds.
Yep.
There's all a place and a time for all these. Not saying that you have to have all these things,
but
you can catch fish on a lot of these. But imagine going to a body of water where there's a ton of weeds, and the only thing you have is one jig with one exposed hook because there's no hook, weed guard or anything, and you're just trying to cast out into this matted vegetation, and that's the only option you have. You're shit out of luck, bud. You ain't gonna catch nothing.
Shit out of luck. Yeah, I was gonna say it's not gonna go well, and you just put it even more plain. But without dragging on the fishing topic anymore and retreading stuff, I love what you said there at the end, because like all these different scenarios could be jig scenarios, and that's why this is like the beginner's guide to jigs, because it was like, here's all this stuff. Now there's a whole world out there. Go explore.
Right. Yeah, because I'm not
really crazy to think about.
It does make it tough. I feel like I apologize if anybody felt like that was too long-winded or we didn't hit some stuff that you wanted. It's really hard to break down some of these seemingly simple categories into what is actually ridiculously large and far bigger than what I've touched on.
Right. Which I think, which is the perfect way to like end this, is just go, that's why this is the beginner's guide, right? Like that's why you didn't know how big this was, but now hopefully you do.
Yes.
And there could be more to it. So,
yes. And those stupid questions, if anybody felt like that was too over your head and you want us to like go from the very beginning, come in and ask, just be like, but what was this? Sometimes I know so much about this stuff because I've been doing it for so long. I can kind of gloss over the small fine details.
Right.
And not realize that I'm even doing it. So again, if you have any questions,
because you already have a vocabulary established.
Yes, exactly. So if there's like a term I use that you weren't sure of, or I said something that you had questions about, hit us up. I'm happy to help.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, man. that was great. I hope that helped out some people. Leave comments too if it did help you. Leave comments if you need more, want to talk more. We'll definitely look at them. But now let's jump into the random take where we are going to find out why me and Tim aren't friends. Hit the break. Here we are, patreon.com/realaftv. That's right, patreon.com/realaftv. Real like fish and reel. We are on Patreon, and we are coming to tell you, and by we, I mean me and Tim, Real AFTV podcast here, coming to you to say we have a Patreon as low as $1 a month, but hey, you could go up to $100 if you really wanted to get crazy with it. It's there. Go over to our website, realaf.tv. You can find the Patreon link right there, or go to Patreon and look us up, Real AFTV, Real Like Fish and Reel. And we have things like, for $50 a month, we will customize, what kind of tackle is it, Tim? We have some in the warehouse right now that we haven't actually ran.
A lure. Yes.
Lure, thank you.
Is a crankbait.
Crankbait.
Yes, we will customize a crankbait for you.
At the $50 tier. Also, Patreon, if you're new to the whole Patreon thing, if you're on a podcast, you're probably not that new to it. But Patreon is something that you can jump in and out of. Like if you do $50 this month, bam, you get the custom lure, but you don't want to do that for the whole year. You jump down to the $5 a month tier where you're going to get early access content. You can help vote on the random take, one of the random takes for the month. And, we'll keep up with you on Patreon as well. Like just a direct Patreon contact. There's communication you do only through Patreon. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you're new, there's just a little intro to it.
Yeah. And to clarify that custom painted lure is a fully custom painted lure, like the pattern and everything. That won't be just something that we have a lure that we just like write Real AFTV on.
Yes. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for clearing that up, because yes, it's a slug, for lack of a better word, right now, and it will be turned into something.
Right.
I'm not good at the whole fishing lingo, so maybe Tim, you could evaluate on that a little, or like elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, right now it has no color, and I will give it color.
There we go.
It will look like a bait fish imitation of some sort. It might not be exactly colored. It might not be realistic. Some of that stuff out there that the different companies work with makes different stuff, but it will be a custom painted lure, and it won't look like dog shit. Because not to be too full of myself, but I have some talent.
You have some artistic talent. Yes. Yeah, very true. If you know friends and family and stuff like that got a few bucks to kick our way, let them know. realaf.tv. Scroll down a little bit. There's the Patreon link. It'll shoot you right over. Sign up for a little bit.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Real AFTV podcast show about fishing random takes from the land 10,000 lakes. If you're getting this on a Friday, you're not coming back. You're probably just clicking on this, and we're going to get to the bottom of something. We have been friends for a long time, and we're not even friends because we're talking about Nintendo Online. We're going to jump into it because you have it finally, and we talked about Nintendo Online before you had it. And then I was like, yeah, we're totally going to talk about it. And then I'm going to ask Tim, what the hell? We've never exchanged friend codes before.
Oh,
Like, look, yeah. Mm.
I mean, I guess a big reason for that is I didn't know it was a thing. You could, I can like add you as a friend. What? I suppose it makes sense. I can add you as a friend on the Switch, on Nintendo.
Right. Yeah. Because you have Nintendo Online now, so you can add
that.
I mean, you could before
totally
that, anyways.
Makes sense, and I never thought about it. And I don't know why. I don't know if I thought it was like, here's like a kid-friendly system, and they don't want you conversing or whatever. Because I've had friends on like the PlayStation and stuff. Obviously, we're friends on PlayStation. I have other friends on the PlayStation. I've never even thought of trying to add anybody as a friend on the Switch. So,
right.
I don't know what the French toast that's all about. Weird. That's weird.
Weird. Why are you saying it like
that? Why am I saying what weird?
that?
I was up at the cabin this last week, and I forgot the Switch there, and this week has sucked shit. every I'm like cooking supper, and every time I'm sitting around doing nothing, I just be like, well, so let's check out what's going on with Zelda. Oh, that's right. I guess I look at my phone exclusively today. I don't know what else to do. We're just like trying to think of other things to go. Just trying to think of like things to Pinterest and stuff. Well, I guess let's see what's going on with the new recipes for pickling beets or something, you know?
Dude, I just got beets at the farmer's market to make pickled beets. I fucking love pickled beets.
Bro, pickled beets are the shit. I love pickled beets. Yeah, I've heard that's one of those that's like a controversial topic of people like Tom Brady being like, I don't eat any nightshade vegetables because of inflammation or some shit. And then you have other people being like, I eat tons of beets because it saves me from dying of a heart attack or some shit. I don't know. So some people are like, eat a lot of beets. And then other people are like, don't eat beets. And then you're like,
really?
I guess maybe I just have to choose what I want. Like if nightshade vegetables like beets and eggplant can like cause inflammation, so I hurt, but then it can like help my heart health so I don't die. Is there a way to
I never heard of this.
Yeah, so I just hear things and then I try to look up stuff every once in a while, and you just hear like contradicting deals, points of view out there. And then I also know that I look at recipes all the time for food, and those recipes are almost always like, oh, if you're cooking on the Instant Pot, use 2 cups of water with this much stuff, and you do the instructions to a T. It gets done, and it's dry as shit. You're like, I needed at least another cup of water. And then you're like, did you even try any of this? And then you start thinking about the beets, and you're like, are you just regurgitating some bullshit you saw somewhere out there? Are you the guy that's telling me that I need to put 2 cups of water when I clearly need more? It's like, so then you just start like, how do I trust anything? Because all of the recipes seem to be some regurgitated bullshit, because there's almost always something wrong with it where it doesn't work out like it's supposed to. And it's like, you've clearly never made this dish. You're just regurgitating what somebody else said. And then you change it a little bit, like, oh, I know it's a lot like theirs, but I put a pinch of oregano in there, and it's not the same. So I'm going to call it my own dish, and I'm going to put it on my blog, and I'm going to have all my different links to all the different places you can go to make me money when I'm just out here falsifying information, acting like I'm a chef, where I'm just ripping other people's shit off. But I got a nice template on my website, so I look like a friendly lady, but I've never made any of this shit. Oh, jeepers. Sorry I had to go off on a rant there. But yeah, I guess nightshade vegetables are great for you or they're bad for you. That's the moral of the story, is the internet's a shit
the
place
topic that we're talking about.
Legitimate. Yeah, if you want legitimate information, it's hard to know what you're getting.
That's actually why
this might be my third energy drink of the day, so I'm
that's
sorry.
Why I try to tell
too much.
Well, that's actually why on like the Real AFTV podcast in general, I try to like cite my sources or give sources and say like, oh no, I looked, I
Yeah.
looked in multiple places and verified this from different sources and stuff like that. Because
True.
there, and this ties back to the Nintendo thing. Is I'm not going to get into the rumor shit with Nintendo Online at all, because there are
Okay.
people out there that do that. They just straight up lie and say Nintendo is developing games for 2025. They're converting games, and here's where they are. No, Nintendo has confirmed,
Oh.
through 2024, and here's what
Right.
those games are. You're totally making shit up. One thing where so there was about to go back to the turtles from what we were just talking about when we were talking about the turtles.
Yeah.
So the Last Ronin is is a Ninja Turtle
Ooh.
graphic novel. I bought it.
Yes.
We talked about it a little bit. Somebody was like, dude, they're working on the Last Ronin and it's going to be like God of War style. No, there's a game just
Ooh.
called Ronin, and I
Yeah.
guarantee that's where the rumor mill
Right.
started. Is there was a legitimate
Yeah.
leak. Someone said they were working on a Ronin game, and someone nerdified it, and now here we are. Everybody wants a fucking a dark Ninja Turtle game on like the level of God of War, and we got
Yeah.
ourselves a decent ninja game coming sometime, which will probably be a decent
So
ninja game. But
so you're saying that the rumor mills made that so, and you don't think that that Ninja Turtle game is actually going to exist?
correct.
That
That's what I think.
sucks shit. Because I heard of that and I thought it was a real thing. It doesn't
I
need to be
know.
God of War. I was thinking of it being like a more of a, in my mind, as soon as I heard it, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I'm a Ninja Turtle and I have all the different weapons, or maybe in the game, I have to go through and find all the different weapons of
And
my
unlock
fallen
them.
brothers. And then
Right.
I have all these different weapons at my arsenal,
Whoa,
and it's like a
spoilers for the.
sneaking mission.
Just thinking of that
And it's like
now.
a sneaking, if it's like a sneaking mission style
Yeah,
open world like Metal Gear was, except for your
right.
Ninja Turtle.
But you're a turtle. Yeah. And
That's
you
what,
build,
as soon
yeah.
as I
I mean,
saw it,
that
I'm
game,
like, oh,
so good. But
it's
I
a
think
sneaking
this
open
is a mix
world,
up, and
but
this
you're
is total.
in.
I think this is a
Sorry.
regurgitation situation where there's one person who had a great idea, put out a rumor, and then it got regurgitated across the internet. So I don't think it's happening. And that
Well,
the Nintendo Online thing is like people want these games so bad that they'll make it up, or they'll catch wind that it's being worked on. And the truth behind it is there's a remake being made, or there is a clone that somebody's working on. And so like some backdoor crawler found Mario Paint and spit it out, and they took it as fact when really it's just a Mario Paint like game and it's coming out on Steam, and you're like, well, fucker.
mm, yeah,
There's like
I
that's the
think
kind of regurgitation.
that, I hope that that works, honestly, though. If they're just like, oh, that Ninja Turtles game is coming out, and then everybody gets hyped on it. So
Right.
then the developers just go, you
Some
know what? Look at how many people are into this.
right.
Even if the game flops, we have 1 million copies sold before we ever make it.
Right.
Look at the hype that this has. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
hopefully
hopefully that
it becomes a
happens. I
thing.
know. I agree.
Because that's what it sounds like. The Spider-Man game is almost like, huh? But that one is like kind of, jumping around and you got webs, but that's kind of like a
Yeah.
sneaking
Yeah.
game.
Sort of.
So,
Yeah, that's an open
and
world,
it's,
like cuz they have one out already, and then the second one
yeah,
comes out real soon.
so you have, he's running around in like a legitimate city, but now I picture like the setting of this the
Turtle game.
Ronin turtle game would be like a Last of Us. Like it's the city, but everything's in shambles because
Mhm.
there's an entity, whatever it happens to be,
Yep.
Shredder. Somehow it's Shredder, and he got like super powerful and some
Yeah.
shit. I don't know, super duper Shredder. And then,
yeah, that's a thing.
yeah, and then he was able to take out all the turtles except for one, and the rest of the world. So I don't, I don't know.
The last person, the last mutant, even not even the last Ronin only.
Right. Yeah. The only reason he's still alive is because he got zapped by the baby maker. This is the machine that they call it. He turned into a turtle.
That's what they call
and
it.
when he got hit by it, somehow fell down into the ooze again. Everybody else perished, but he landed in the ooze and had the whole retransformation, came back, and I don't know.
They're just making it up. I think this half of this topic I'm gonna have to put down is just like we make up the Last Ronin game.
We write the Last Ronin, but it's like a weird alternate funny version where they're just saying like inappropriate odd stuff. Where like Super Duper Shredder has that machine and it's just he's yelling stuff as he's firing it, like taste my baby maker. It's like just a big old, like it's like a plasma gun, so it's not just like a light ray, it's like there's like some viscosity to it,
right? Yeah.
So
when it hits, it splatters and it has some stick to it.
It's like ooze, but it's like an anti-ooze, and it's like making everybody go little, and everybody perishes because they get too little. But the one turtle, which we don't know, he falls down and hits the old school ooze, and then gets like brought back to regular size. And I don't know.
You got yourself a game right there. Somebody make
Boom. Yeah. Yeah, you call it some. That's a different game altogether. I think have it be a little bit more childish, a little bit more immature.
Yeah,
where it's like mystery turtle. Man, what would you call him? I don't know.
Yeah, mystery
one of
ninja
the turtles versus
mystery turtle
Super Duper
ninjas.
Right.
That's what you have to call it. It's like the Foggate. It's the Foggate. I'm not calling it. No, right. It's not that. I'm not getting sued.
I don't have a good. It's not.
Yeah, I don't have a good accent.
No, it's the Foggate. It's not this. It's not that thing of the other movie. I'm not getting sued. It's not.
There we go. Yes, that was a much better one. I couldn't bring it up off the top of my head, but I knew the joke.
It's not even a Moonanite, is it? It's that like weird guy in the wheelchair. He's like that weird spiky thing in the wheelchair.
Oh, is that what it was?
I think so. He's just no, it's a completely different thing. It's not. But yeah,
so good.
I was just thinking like Shredder's Revenge is the actual name of the Turtles game that's out now.
Right.
So it'd be like Super Duper Shredder Revenge, and then like underneath it, it's just like you maybe just like put a sticker on it. That's like a when you get now with karate action or whatever, it's just like says, with the super baby maker or whatever the fuck I call it.
With the Super Duper baby maker.
With the Super Duper Shredder's Revenge with the baby maker of ooze. I don't know.
Ooze.
Now with new fresh baby maker taste. What?
There you go. But to go back to the Nintendo thing and why we like, obviously we can't even do it because you don't have your Switch. We can't exchange friend codes after, but Shredder's Revenge is actually one of the reasons why I was like, fuck, why haven't we exchanged codes? Because I'm to the point in Shredder's Revenge now where I am having trouble doing it solo. And that
Oh,
game's online.
nice, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we should definitely do that because my son wants to play it all the time. He just asked me this week. He's just like, "Can we play Turtles, buddy?" And I'm like, "No, dude, sorry." And he's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "I forgot the Switch. I can't play it if we wanted to. I would play it with you, but I
Right.
cannot. We
It's like
cannot."
it's not even here.
Yeah. And he's like, "What?" And he's like, "What about what about this game?" And I'm just like, "Well, first off, you've never played that game before. Second, no. The Switch is gone.
It's
Nothing we can do."
it's all on the Switch. It's all is there. But the other thing that made me think about it, and I don't think there's anything you could do about it, but spoilers coming up for Zelda.
Mm.
I was like, oh, can I? And I don't know if I can do this, but this is the other reason why I was like, fuck, I wish Tim, I wish I had Tim on Switch online, because then, I think I could share the screenshot with him. I found
Oh,
one of those, well, I think recipes would be cool to go back to the food thing that you were talking about. I think that'd be cool.
yeah.
You just screen cap this, check it out, dude. But the other one, I found one of the big unopened flower fairies.
Yes.
Found one. It was unopened,
Ho
and I
ho.
talked to it,
Yeah.
and it said, "I ain't coming out of this thing until I hear the big horn." And I
Yeah.
was like, "What in the fuck are you talking about? I haven't. This is like the first time I've heard the big horn. What the hell?" I don't think I haven't. I don't even have any good armor right
Yeah.
now, but I still
Yeah.
wanted to upgrade some of my armor that I do have so that my armor doesn't suck so bad. What the fuck is the big horn?
Yeah.
Do you
Oh,
know? What is it?
yeah. You have to go to the stable.
Go to the stable. Okay.
If you go to the stable that's near that thing, all of those
Oh,
things are by the stable. And there's
one
like
stable
people
did tell
playing
me that.
instruments. And that person, the people playing the instruments will be like, "Did you come here to see the great fairy?" And then you say your thing, and then they go, "Oh, well, yeah, we actually wanted to play for her, but she sounds like she wants to, hear this horn, but our horn player's off over there. You got to go find the horn
Yeah.
player." So you got to like bring back the horn player, get the band together,
Okay.
have them play, and they're all like that. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I've opened up 2 of them and upgraded some of my stuff, and
Okay.
I've done a lot of things. I've been doing things. I've been doing stuff. I have full
Yeah.
sets of some pretty neat things that I've found. I've got a couple other things where I was excited.
Yeah. Don't go too far
Some
into it, but like,
yeah.
yeah, some of this stuff, like,
I,
I don't know if we can exchange online and stuff like that, but like,
yeah.
when there's stuff you want to share and there's like,
Right.
yeah,
I have pictures of where like, oh, I have this weapon and I have all of this armor, and I was able to, I don't know, do you care about
about.
uh I don't want to ruin
I
it.
know this talking about this
It's not
game is
really
so
it's
hard.
not really. So you know how, like, have you heard anybody talking about like go to this town and they will give you like the fashion places, like, oh, here's your
Yes.
fabric. Like, have you gotten any fabrics and stuff?
Yes, I've been in that town.
Yeah. So that town, oh, so you've seen the weird, like the creepy clown guy?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to think about it. He's
Yeah.
in that
There's like a
town.
creep. Yeah, there's like a shirtless dude in the like dye shop.
Yeah.
But you can change the color of your clothes.
Yeah. At that dye
And
shop.
that, yeah, I didn't know about that, but I have like full sets that look completely different than what they're supposed to because it changed the color.
Oh,
And then
sick.
like the sets that I have are gnarly. Like one of the sets is So helpful. It's come in very helpful. It's I have a couple of things that really help because there's like different elemental advantages to some of your outfits. So it's not just
Yes.
armor, you know.
Yes. Which is
So
why I
I don't
want
have full
to.
sets of everything.
Yes. I'll just say that.
So yeah, I have some pictures where I'm holding um basically like all the treasures I've found, where I have my cool weapon that I found, and I
Uh-huh.
have my
Uh-huh.
full outfit that ended up being treasure, and I ended
Yeah.
just fun stuff where I'm trying to take pictures, or like I've been on 2 of the dragons now, and I made
Oh,
sure to
fuck yeah.
put my fancy outfit on and then take a picture of me
Right.
standing on its face and
Oh,
just being like, ha ha ha, I am on its face with a fancy outfit and a nice, just all this other. So I've been taking all these captures. I'm like, I don't know what I do with them or where I can send them, but I've accidentally taken captures, and I go, oh, that's a thing. So I guess
yeah.
I'll just look back on my journey later.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I am.
I tried to share, and you can't even share a photo directly online. So that idea's out, I guess. Son of a bitch.
Yeah. Last time I checked, I am over 140 hours in.
Holy fuck, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, I play
Hold
a
on.
lot. Like when
Sorry.
we're up
I got to
every.
time out quick. I got to
Oh,
pause. Okay, there we go. Sorry for the interruption. We'll leave it in. It's probably not that big of an interruption anyway. Overall, paused it. So, anyways, Tim, let me get back into I'm going to get into the Nintendo Online thing because that's how you play with friends online now. Obviously, the share component isn't what we hoped it was because I just looked right now in real time and I can't share a screenshot directly with you. So,
wonder if you could, if we were friends though. Like if
I
that
tried to
option doesn't.
just share a screenshot with one of my other friends and it just didn't even give me an option. Yeah.
Yes.
So, Nintendo, step up. You need to add that to your online features.
Yeah.
What are you afraid of people sending spoilers or something? Fucking A. No. We want to help each other out here.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a screenshot from a game, why would you not be able to do that?
Yeah.
I could understand them being like, don't send pictures to each other because like some creeper knows that they got a hold of like Sammy boy number 42 or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. And then they're just like, oh, I bet he wants to see my dick. Because there's weird creepers everywhere in the world. So I totally get why you're like, yeah, no pictures.
Right.
But if it's a screen capture from the game.
From a game. Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't fully understand it either.
Is there a web browser on the Switch?
Nope.
So then, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure either. Yeah. Because you can share it. You can share it to Facebook or Twitter if you have your accounts connected.
Yeah.
But you can't send directly to a friend. You can't like DM someone else a screenshot, which maybe there is a way and I don't know where it is. But anyways, work on it. The other thing we talked about, I can't remember if we talked about it on the podcast or not, but you played the original Zelda now that you have it online.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of really want to go and play more of it. That's dope. But my question is, do you have the Game Boy one yet? Because last time you said you hadn't gotten it.
I didn't play anything on the Game Boy yet. I downloaded the I don't know, for lack of a better term, like the emulator. I downloaded the Game Boy. But I didn't.
But you didn't play anything.
I just looked at the titles. I didn't play anything.
Oh yeah, I got you.
So I wonder if it's good. I mean,
I played it. I played it when it came out. It's pretty.
Did you?
It's pretty gnarly. Like it's. There's some shit on there where you're like, whoa, what?
I was gonna say, given what they were able to do with the original Nintendo version, and the Game Boy is a superior machine to the original Nintendo, which is a weird thing to think.
Entirely because you have to remember that there were games that weren't in color.
Right.
They were just duotone games.
Right. Yes, which definitely doesn't, is a drawback. But it was like what they could do with the picture was far better, and there was like menu selections and like it was just better. Besides color, it was better looking than the original Nintendo.
Yeah, there were some really unique art styles that came out of the Game Boy for sure. Did you have a Game
Yeah.
Boy? That's actually where, like, when
Hell
I
yeah,
thought about
dude.
this
I had
topic,
the
I was like,
original
did Tim have a Game Boy?
I had the original Game Boy, and then I had a Game Boy Color that just showed up in my tree fort one day.
What?
Somebody left it in the tree fort, and I was never able to figure out who left it there. And I wasn't about to I was just waiting for somebody to be like, did I leave a Game Boy Color here? And I'd be like, yes, you did. But I wasn't going to go ask the neighborhood kids, is
Right.
this your Game Boy Color?
Right,
Because they're
right.
going to be like, yeah, that's mine, you know?
Right.
So I just waited for somebody to come and be like, did I leave a Game Boy? And nobody ever came and asked.
So
I'm just like, well, I
yeah.
guess I have this Game Boy now. So yeah, I have a green Game Boy Color, and I don't know whatever happened to my original Game Boy, but I had one.
Nice.
And I had a Sega Game Gear.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, dude.
I see. I don't think they put Game Gear on there,
pack.
but they have Sega Genesis 16-bit games if you have the online expansion pack, but I don't think Game Gear.
The Game Gear games sucked.
They weren't great. I remember them.
I remember I had a fighting game that was like Fatal Fury. That one was good.
Yep.
I had Shaq Fu.
Oh,
that was a fighting game with Shaq. And then it was like random as other characters. It was like,
I did not know you had Shaq Fu.
Yeah, I had Shaq Fu. It wasn't good.
No,
but
they remade Shaq Fu, dude. They have a remake.
They did?
Yeah. Now that I know that you had it, I'm thinking of content.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'll play it again. It wasn't.
I will buy that game just to see what familiarities of somebody who actually played it, because I played only a little bit on Sega Channel, which is the precursor to this online thing where you get like, 100 fucking Sega games at one time and you just go pick one.
Oh yeah,
it's the same thing, right? That's what Nintendo Online is. They give you 100 Nintendo games and spread it out through different emulators.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like the same thing, just different. But the fact that you have like history with it makes me go like, okay, how can we make fishing content and work in Shaq Fu?
And work in Shaq Fu. Yeah, I had Shaq Fu.
Because I'll buy that new Shaq Fu just to see. But okay, play both.
I had Lion King too
for the ultimate adventure.
Do I like those? I like those controllers.
Oh yeah, thank you. Check it out.
One Zelda, one green. I like it.
Yeah, that one's Zelda. But look, this is also, check it out. So I'm on the Game Boy emulator right now.
Yeah. Pokemon? Is that the trading card game?
Yeah.
I have that. That's in the Game Boy Color right now.
You see those two?
Which ones?
Those other two right here. Watch this.
I was reading. Zelda's.
2 Zelda games, dude, and they're pulling the old Pokemon move. I don't know anything about these. I just seen them. They popped up on the newsfeed, and it's Zelda Oracle of Ages, Zelda Oracle of Seasons, and then on the front cover it says play both for the ultimate adventure. One's blue and one's red.
Damn, dude, that's crazy. I think the Pokemon trading card game on the Game Boy there is pretty much fucking pointless because you can that game wasn't bad because you actually play the actual card game on the Game Boy.
Okay.
So it's like you have the cards, you deal the cards, all that other stuff. But you can play with brand new stuff with way better graphics, really cool shit against real people.
Right.
Online. The TCG trading card game, Pokemon trading card game, you can download that for free, play for free.
Oh. No shit.
If you ever get a Pokemon card pack and it has the code in it, that code is to get you a virtual pack. You scan every single one of those, go to the trading card game, and then you get to open a virtual pack, and then you have all those cards that it gives you to make a deck out of like what you get, or it has pre-made decks, and you can do tasks.
Oh,
Sometimes it'll give you like
yeah.
go beat these different people or win so many games and you get, different coins. I haven't done it for a while, and you can go and buy like the actual decks that they've made, that they like, that you can go to, like, I don't know if you know this, but like if you go to like Walmart or Target or whatever, you
Hmm.
can go and buy the booster packs, or
I've
you
heard of
can
those.
buy already set like made decks
What?
where it'll
You
have
buy
like,
already made decks.
so it'll have
What the fuck?
like your energy cards, and then it'll have, like so many, because I forget how many cards you have to have in your deck,
Hmm.
but it'll have like 3 of this card, 4 of that card. It'll have your trainer cards, stuff that kind of play off each other. So it's basically a deck that like works well together, because there's the trainer cards
Okay.
where it's like you can play a
Okay.
trainer card and it'll be like draw 3 cards, or like shuffle your cards back into your deck and draw 6 new ones, if you don't like
Hmm.
what you have, like
Hmm.
stuff like that. So there's all these different things that can kind of help you out. And then each one of, there's special abilities with some of your Pokemon where if you like evolve that Pokemon, where basically if you get the first evolution card and then you get the second evolution card, you can play that second evolution card on top of the first one, evolve the Pokemon. That second evolution might have a hidden ability or whatever. And now you can use that ability, and that ability might be like draw more cards, or you can shuffle the deck to find an energy or whatever. And they've basically just made a deck where the cards in that deck make sense. So you can come fresh off of the street, buy that deck, and then you can go and play Pokemon
You can
with
beat any.
friends because you just have a deck. It's a legit deck that will get
Okay.
you where you need to go.
Okay.
And those pre-made decks that they sell in real life, you can buy in the game with fake money, but you have
Oh,
to earn it.
with the
So you can,
currency, yeah, that the free to
yeah,
play currency, but it's
yep,
not actual. Okay.
yeah, but they're real decks. They're actual decks. It's the exact cards
It's
that
the
you could
exact
buy
same
at like
cards
Walmart.
because they're all
Yeah,
because they're actually predetermined.
yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah,
that makes sense then. I get a pre-built one like that. I'm sure you can go on eBay and buy some crazy ridiculous shit, but like when you said pre-made decks and I was like, "Well, what the fuck would you do that for?" Now I get
right,
it. It's the starter
right,
deck sort of situation.
exactly. Yep, it's a starter deck, and each one has its own thing. Like this one
Right.
is, when you see those starter decks and you see them in the thing, there's like the one Pokemon that's like badass.
Yeah.
That's like the headliner of that deck.
Okay.
So you're getting that one. There's like
Right.
Dragonite or whatever it
Yep.
happens to be. That's your main guy in that deck, and people know like, that one's a little, as the kids say, that one's OP,
Yep.
overpowered.
Yep.
I'm hip to the words,
Hip
children.
to the lingo.
Now become my friend so I can send you a screen grab. Just kidding. We learned we can't do that just now.
So this one, this Pokemon trading card, like the OG Game Boy Color Pokemon training game, trading card game, you had that,
Yep, I
and like what? So
literally have it in the Game Boy Color in my garage right now.
right now, that's awesome. And so, are you telling me that there's no story to that game? Like it's just like versus AI the whole time?
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know. I don't remember. That one when I was younger
didn't
didn't
make a lot of
hold my
sense.
attention very well.
Yeah,
Maybe there is
right.
a storyline, but like in the new versions it's like AI fake people where you have to go and beat them. It's kind of like the
Hmm.
idea of the regular Pokemon game where you have to beat these trainers, and as the further you go up,
See,
the
that's
better
cool.
deck they
Yeah,
have and the better people. But it's not like a go adventure, catch your own Pokemon. It's kind of that, like, you're earning cards and stuff, but
yeah.
it's basically like it's just battle after battle. It'd be like Pokemon if they were like, fight this guy,
Uh
now
huh.
fight this guy, now fight this guy. Do you need some new Pokemon? You can go to the store and buy a couple of new Pokemon if you have the coins that you
If you
saved
have
up for
enough of the
beating these
coins.
guys.
I'm trying to start. I was trying to see if this is a 2-player game at all, and the answer looks like no. It does not look like it's.
Which one? The Pokemon?
Yeah.
Mm.
The Pokemon card game, just out of curiosity. I was like, can you play this with...
See? Yeah, I don't know. Because back then, maybe they had that like link cable.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know for sure. But I do know that the new one that you don't have to pay anything for,
right,
is definitely 2-player. You can play online, real
That's
people.
Cool. Is it on phone or is it on, like, what is it on?
On phone. Yeah, just download it. Yeah, I have it. Because there's 2 different. It was the original. It was the original like trading card game, and then they changed the terminology.
What do you mean the terminology?
It was Pokemon Trading Card Game, and now it's Pokemon Trading Card Game Live is the newest version.
Okay, meaning that there's other people on there finally. I bet you.
Well, it's updated and like it looks complete. Oh shit! Just smacking the mic. It looks completely different. Like it's an updated, newer version. Looks cooler, different animations. Okay. Because it has animations too.
Oh, that's fucking
where like
cool.
if you click that it's like it's an electric move or whatever,
right?
It'll like a lightning bolt will strike the card, and then the card will like turn 45 degrees if it's like knocked out, and then go back into the deck. So it's cool like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's actual animations for the moves and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep. Yeah, it's fun, dude. I got pretty into it for a while.
Sure.
But then my shit didn't go over, and I couldn't like figure out how to log into this new one. It like wasn't working right.
Oh.
And I didn't care enough to spend time to try to recover anything.
Troubleshoot that shit.
Yeah. And it's like, well, I guess I do something else. Go look up recipes for pickled beets. Call back.
That's a good note to end on, dude. We don't have to drag this one on too long, because we went places. I don't even know what I'm going to call it, but we did get to the bottom of why me and you aren't friends. Oh shit. Okay, do the do the like, subscribe thing. Come on. Thank you. It's awesome. If you can do it, leave a review. That'd be great. That shit all helps us out, helps us in the algorithm, trying to grow this thing into something bigger. We got some announcements coming up in September, and there are a few things that I've been thinking about with video, but that is going to be for later. Anyways.
Later.
Yeah. But I was just thinking that through in my head, and I'm trying to dance around it right now.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. I'm just having fun with words.
Okay. So anyways, that's it, dude. That's a podcast. What do you think? What am I missing? Anything?
No, I think you said it. Like, subscribe. Don't be afraid to reach out. I don't care if it's on the first half or the second half.
That's right.
You want to be like,
I ain't gonna give you my friend code because I just don't like to do that shit. But But we'll meet up at an arcade and we can play Virtual Fighter or something.
Yeah. We can.
That'd be a fun meetup, wouldn't it?
Virtual Fighter the shit out of you, bro. You better watch out, man. Old school Virtual Fighter.
I think that's actually on the Sega Genesis.